Thank you guys for being so patient. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we have fixed it. So we're going to go ahead and start going live again, um, just so that you guys know. So give me just a sec. Thank you guys. I am going to ask that when we are doing the presentation, that everyone mute and let the presenters speak. And then at the end, we will have a question and answer, and you guys can go ahead and start asking questions then, and we'll call on you one at a time. So let me go ahead and get this back on my Facebook. Sorry about that, guys. And I see Suwaki's here. Thank you for coming, Suwaki. Okay, guys, we're live again. All right, so I first want to start by thanking everyone for coming tonight for our Talanoa, and I am going to actually turn the time over to Tevita Kaili, who will be our moderator and also leading the discussion tonight.
O kore ke u whanga he talamaru o e whanua, o e talafongani o e lotu. Kai ata ke whakahoko atu ai whatongia o e talanoa I he whiawhini o whekawaki pia mo e virus corona, pia mo e COVID I tahiwa. Pia ko kuhingoa ko te vita kairi, pia te whakahoko atu o e ngāwe o e ahoni, ko e tau talanoa o whekawaki pia mo e mahuinga o e tau tokanga ki he COVID I tahiwa. Pia ko ia e o ko whiawhia ke o kau whakataha ai pia mo Chantel Matangi, ai ko tahai ne kau ngawe, he potu ngawe moui o Hawaii, pia pefok mo ne kau ngawe o nau kau mai ki he prokalama I ahoni. I begin by acknowledging and paying my respect to the indigenous people of this place and also to the people that are here with us this evening. And to begin this Talanoa Koviti with all of you. And we welcome all the Tongans from all parts of here in Hawaii, continental US, and also all over the world. We are grateful that you're here to join us in this conversation, this Talanoa Koviti. My name is Tevita Kaili, and I'm here with Chantel Matangi, or Teli Matangi, as many of you may know. She is the organizer of this event and also work in the State Department of Health, and together with her teams who are also here with us. And we're grateful that all of you are here and to be part of this conversation, even though it's a virtual conversation. So welcome. We are going to begin our Talanoa Koviti with a opening prayer. And at this time, one of our pastors is going to give us an opening prayer. And then after that, then we have a continue on with the program. Ai te tau roki kamata ki ai lotu, ai whahoko ia e taha kau whaiwhikau, I o mau whanua peheni I waihi, pe hiri ko ia, te tau toki hoko atu rewa ki he toenga o e tau porokarama.
Malo, ko le be ke u whanga te whatapu kai wale ke whai hatau lotu he se whiawhini ko ki ngoa ko lintalo ave moa ke kawa au te me he First United Methodist o Honolulu ke tau lotu. E o tua mafi ai a Fiona ko e o tua lau i tāniti. O ku ke a Fio i ai mea kotoa pe e ko i tokai maananga ai a Fiona. O mauheni he whiawhini ke kamata ia e tala noa ki he whaingata o i COVID tahahiwa. Ai au tō whangai ho mau kā i ngā ia pehe ki he mamani. O heni ai kakai me he Pasifiki ke wahe mo tala noa. A whaunga ke tokoni ia i ki mau tolu, ke mau hao pia mo wha ehi me he whaingata a ko eni. Ko ia e o mau kore whamore more atu e o tua, ke kau mai mua ho lau maari e o ne whakamama mo whakawhaingo fua ai ngāwe mahu ingani. Kau mai ia dek nau tolu o nau tataki, ia kia ki nau tolu e wahe mai me nau ngahi au sia. Ia te he kia ki mau tolu kotoa pe o mau i he whareni. Toko ni kotoa ki mau tolu ke mau au sia e tāpua ki ho whinangalo, mo mea to tonu mo tau ke mau mau. Help us this evening, O Lord, guide our discussion and sharing. Enable us to understand and trust you. As the apostle reminds us to not anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. May the honor and glory of the evening be yours. We ask all this in your mighty name, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Malo pito e whai whekau, e lotu whaofofa, ke kamata aki o e tau pōtala noa, mo e tau veitatala, e whakahoko i he ewhia whini. E oku bongo ki he tonga kotoa pē, ko e tau tala noa kotoa pē, ku pau ke kamata aki a e hiva, pe pehe whoki ki he lotu, pe a ko ia e oku mau wongo, i a tāpuaki ko ia. We want to thank our pastor for the opening prayer. And we're grateful, as we all do in Tonga. All our meetings begin with singing and praying. And so we are very grateful for her and for bringing that blessing to us. The first part of our agenda is we are going to begin with some COVID-19 basics, which will be presented to us by Saya and Elia. And for the first part of our Talanoa COVID. E kai ngā tonga te tau roki kamata aki e tau veitatala o e whiawhini aki ai ki whakamatala no ki he COVID tahiwa ai o atu ai ngahi te whito i mea o ku mahu inga pia mo COVID ai whakahoka tui ai saia pia mo Elia pia te tau roki kamata ai pia tau tuki hohoka ke tonga tau pokalama. So we'll begin now with COVID-19 basics.
Thank you, Tivita. Malolele, my name is Elia Titi Maya. I work as a contact investigator for the Hawaii State Department of Health. Tonight, I'll be talking about some of the basics of COVID-19. I was also asked to share some of the best practices with regards to returning to church services. So I'll be sharing some of the CDC guidelines for communities of faith in these COVID times. Saya?
Koe hingo e tangata koe ni ko Elia Titi Maya. Pea ku ngau e tangata koe ni ke pureanga. Pea koe ne hono whatongia koe ki pureanga ko no whatotoro ai mahaki koe no kui koe COVID tahiwa. Pea ku magatuunga e tau whatahe poni ke whakaiki atu e ngahi mea lalahi o ngahi mea mahu inga o totonu ke tau mui totonu ki ai ke malu ki tau tolu mei he COVID tahiwa.
I work in Team 6B, under the leadership of Chantel Matangi and National Guardsman Kremlin Manuel. Our team is focused on the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander, or NHPI, COVID-19 cases and their contacts. Our mission is to address the needs of the NHPIs in a culturally and linguistically competent manner. For us to be successful in decreasing the numbers of NHPI COVID cases, we must work collaboratively with our communities. This meeting tonight is one example of this much needed collaboration between DOH and our communities, in this case, our Tongan community. As you can see from the list, there are no Tongan speakers on our team as of yet, but this is about to change as we will be bringing Tongan speakers on board soon. And hopefully, future outreach into the Tongan community will be carried out by those fluent in the Tongan language. Saya.
O taungu a whoki e whataha koe ni, kono mahu I ngā ki tau ngā ua whakataha. Ngā ua whakataha e tau ngā ua koe ni koe e putu ngā ua mo ui. Mo ki tau tolu ai community tonga whakataha mo ngai siasi, pia mo ngai family, ke tau whenga ki a whonga lava ke malu I ai tau tolu me he COVID-19.
Any discussion of COVID-19 basics must start with this basic question. What is COVID-19? It is a communicable disease, which means that it spreads from one person to another. Unlike non-communicable diseases like high blood pressure or diabetes, which you can't catch from another person, communicable diseases spread from a person who has it to someone who doesn't. It is caused by small living things called viruses. There are many types of viruses. COVID-19 is caused by a type of coronavirus known as SARS-CoV-2. We usually just refer to the virus that causes COVID-19 as the coronavirus. Saya, please.
Koe whakamatawa koe pe koe whihui to tonu ke tau whai, koe haa koa ai COVID-19. A koe whamatala whai ki peki ai, koe COVID-19. Koe
You
whainga
have
maha ki o
18
pipihi,
new
o whekau
messages.
aki pea
Press 1 for
mo
new
tautanoa,
messages.
o puna
Press
pe
2 to
whakakisia
change
mu
folders.
e ea,
Press
o
3 for
mau ia
advanced
hea
options.
tahake.
Press
Pea
0 for
koe,
mailbox.
koe tau mua, ke mahi no, koe maha ki koe ni, koe maha ki o pipihi au pito. Koe inga e lawa pe he whangakisia mu, ka pau kia taha ku puke he maha ki koe ni, ka ne aro ala whakaawa madapa. E lawa pe ke nofo ai maha ki, pe ka pau te ke ala tu ko whakaawa madapa, pe lawa rewa ke mau e koe maha ki. Ka koe whahinga whare I ene o te tonu ke tau mahu inga I ai, hono mai he kau tangata koe ni, me kau whiwhini koe ni o ngau e ke puru ngau e koe ni, ke tau mui to tonu kia.
Viruses are too small to be seen by the naked eye. This picture attempts to show just how small it is by comparing it to a strand of human hair or grains of sand and salt. But in actuality, it is much, much smaller. To get an idea of the size of a coronavirus, picture this. It would take 830 coronaviruses lined up in a row to get the thickness of a single sheet of toilet paper. So this picture is inaccurate, but I've included it so that we can get an idea of how small these things can get. I've also included it for the picture of this thing here that looks like a water droplet. That is the size of a respiratory droplet that we eject from our mouths when we talk or cough or sneeze. It is in these small respiratory droplets that viruses can travel from one person to another. But more on that later.
Koe mahaki koe ni whoki, koe whanki sia mo koe ni o nao hanga koe o whawhetau laki a tau tolu he puke koe ni. Oku si au pito ia pe koe ke lawa tau mata whamatari e ke sio ki ai. Ka ihene pehe, oku whainga taa rewa ki he ki a tau tolu de tau malu I tau tolu me ngahi ha ko ni o sia mo ko ni ko inga na ko ne fusi si mo fai ngo fua ene puna ki he me he tau taha ki to taha ko to.
What parts of the body are affected by COVID-19? Well, the lungs are the most affected organ. This is because the virus is inhaled through our noses and our mouths and can be taken directly into the lungs. Other organs that can be affected include the liver, kidneys, intestines, brain, eyes, nose, and heart and blood vessels.
Ko e konga o sino o ku preperengesi taha ki he maha ki ko ni ko mama. Ko hinga he ko e mama ko fuku tau mana wa fuku alu ki e amo me ko tote. Pe tok tana ki atu ki e konga la lahi o sino hange ko e ate, hange ko e mafu, hange ko ngai konga la lahi sino ka ko e mama ko e konga e sino preperengesi taha o ka pau ki kai o no e te mana wa. E whai ngofua rewa ke hau e maha ki kia kita.
What are the common symptoms of COVID-19? Well, there's fever, usually greater than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Some people complain of chills. Others have debilitating headaches. Often they will complain both of body aches and fatigue at the same time. If the lungs are affected, then we'll see cough and shortness of breath. If the nose and the oropharynx are affected, then they will complain of a runny nose or nasal congestion or a sore throat. And very common are the loss of smell and loss of taste. If the stomach and intestines are affected, then vomiting and diarrhea will be a complaint. There are other symptoms, but these are the most common.
Ko e ngahi maha ki koe ni ku whahoko fo kia tau tō e taimi la. Ka koe mea lai taha ke tau tōkanga ka pau te whakamokosia. Pe ku te langa uru. Pe ku langa hoto sino. Pe ku te waiwaia. Pe koe te tali. Pe koe nou e te mana wā. Pe ku lahi hoto hiu pehe ta tapu me whakatapu. Pe koe te fofonu. Pe koe mamahi hoto monga. Pe ku more a ua kaia kia kita. Pe koe te lua. Pe koe whakalere. Koe mea koe ni. Ka pau o ku hoko e ni ka te koe. O to tonu ke alo sio ke hataha o ku me sivi pe ku ke mau e a COVID tahi wa. O e tu noa I nga pau te ke mau e umahaki ko ni to tonu ke alo ke tole ta ke wakai.
One important feature of COVID-19 that is hard for people to understand and accept is that you can have it and not have any symptoms. In other words, you're asymptomatic, which means that you can infect others even while you yourself do not have symptoms. This is why we require people with COVID-19, or what we call cases, to isolate for 10 days.
Koe whaingata fo ke mahaki koe ni. O kui kai ke fu whakapapau I e taimi koe ku te mau ai. Pe ka pau I e taimi nihi ka pau te osi mau I ki tai mahaki. E lava peke te hanga o uesia ai ka kai koe te fitu taki pona o tolu. Ka kohono mo ni koe nau pou koe ke tau tolu ka pau te ongoi o te puke he mahaki koe ni alo sivi. Ka pau lewa ke whakamawa he I kita I ha aho hango furu ke whakapapau I au pito peku te puke pekai.
Another feature of COVID-19 is for those who are classified as contacts of cases. These are people who have been exposed to a person with COVID-19. Contacts can have a negative test for coronavirus, but can still have it in small amounts in the body. These small amounts of virus can grow to a point where this person can then infect others. So if you are a contact, you must quarantine for 14 days, even if you had a negative test and no symptoms.
Ai a koe pipihi kone a mahaki me tō taha ke tō taha. O kia taiminihi o kui kai ke fuwhakapapau I pe ku te ma ai mahaki koe ni. Ka to tonu ke whamawahe I kita ke te aru o nofo tō taha I ha wheitu. Ko hinga ke whapapau I ke siwi o te hao mi ai. Ko hinga he ka pau he kai ke o kumau kita he mahaki ka te whiohi pe mo I kakai e lava ke te hanga o ave ai mahaki koe ni ka nau tō.
In fact, I've even included this screenshot of a negative result from our computer system. The result doesn't say negative. It says not detected. If we understand that a negative result doesn't mean that there is no virus, but merely that no virus was detected, then we can understand why we must still quarantine for 14 days, even if we had a negative or an undetected test.
Ai ha pau e siwi koe I e taimi koe whamawahe I ai koe o pehe o kuikai te ke mao e mea. O kuikai ke uhinga ia ke pehe ke nau whapapau I o kuikai te ke mao e mahaki. Kono uhinga ia o te tonu ke nofo e awe taha whamawahe I koe. O hi ke whapapau I o ku ke mao e mahaki ke oa na ke koe hanga whua ke mahaki ka tōtake.
So for both cases and contacts, you need to stay away from others, which we call quarantine for contacts and isolation for cases. That is the only difference, is in the names we give them. But you do exactly the same things in each one. You stay in a room by yourself, stay away from others, wear a mask if you have to be around others. Have your own bathroom. If that's not possible, clean the bathroom thoroughly after you use it. Have separate plates, cups, and cutlery for your use only.
Ia koe whamawahe koe ni koe ke te alo nofo I ha wheitu o ku maru au pito ko koe toko taha pe ange koe kai koe ange koe whakatapu ka pau koe wharimaro ku to tonu ko koe pete ke whakaonga I pe ka pau o kui kai ke whakahoko mea koe ni o to tonu ke fufuru ma upe ai wheitu koe ku ke iai ke ma ai osi ho ngau e ati o a upe ki e se puri hu mo peleti ai koe ku ke kai ai whinga ke ma a katoa ia e taimi koe ke whakaonga ia.
We must understand how COVID-19 spreads if we are to understand how to prevent it. Here is a picture of the two main ways that it spreads. In the middle, we have an infected person. He coughs or sneezes, and up to thousands of tiny respiratory droplets are released into the air. Remember that little water droplet with the viruses in it that we saw in the first picture? Imagine thousands of them in varying sizes being released into the air. The heavier ones drop quickly to the ground, as you see in the lower pathway. Some of these heavy droplets fall on things, like the table or the computer or the phone that we see here. If someone else were to touch the telephone, then the virus could potentially stick to her hands and fingers. If she were then to touch her face, say her eyes, mouth, or nose, then the virus can gain entry into her body. The other common way, as shown in the upper pathway, is that some of the smaller, lighter droplets can travel a little further and are inhaled by someone through their nose or mouth, and the virus can gain entry into the throat and even the lungs.
Aia koe mahaki pipihi koe ni. Koe taimi koe tau tare ai. Pe ku tau mawhatua. Koe whahinga alu koe ni whawai koe ni koe ki tu a. O ta tau ai pe alu I he ea pe ku tō ki laro. Ka pau ki ai ha taha mo taranoa kai alu e whawai ki ai. E lawa rewa ke hekai mahaki e tō tahako ia. Te ka pau o ku te ala ki ha ki he computer, pe ko telefoni, pe ko whainga mea pe te ala ki ai. Pe arewa mahaki au nofo ai. Ka pau ki aha tahai au ki kai ke puke, ma ki kai ha uia whaka aunga e telefoni ma umea pe ni te ala ki ai. E lava rewa ke alo mahaki ke tō taha ni. Ka koe whonga koe ku alo mahaki ko te ala pe ka whainga mea. Ka koe ai whuke taimia ni te ala ko tō mata, pe te ala ko tō ihu, pe ko tō hutu. Tamu me whakatapu. Koe taimia o ku hua e mahaki ke tō sino o ma'u ai kita. Ka totonu ke mahino ka tau tō u whonga koe ni o ha'u e mahaki ke tau tō.
This slide shows the effect of the larger and medium-sized droplets falling to the ground, usually within 6 feet. But the small droplets can float in the air or be projected further than 6 feet. Research has shown that coughs can eject small droplets as far as 12 feet, and sneezes can propel them as far as 26 feet.
Koe anga whoki e tau sio koe ki he anga e pipihi ko he mahaki. I he taimiko tau tare ai. O whikau whoki tau wā mamao ake fute ono. Ka kulawa pe e whanga ki si emu koe ni ke nau auna toro whiunga pe fute taha ua. Pea taime ni ihi o nau auna toro fute ua ono. Koe anga i e mālohi koe a alo e mahaki. Ka whanga ki si emu koe ni ke ngai whitu o mau ai hatoko taha ke o te kai te puke.
So, if we know that respiratory droplets are how COVID-19 is spread, we can understand why we are told these 3 things over and over again. 1, wear a mask when out in public. 2, stay at least 6 feet from other people. And 3, wash your hands frequently. These are such simple things that we can do, but they have such a profound effect on stopping the spread of this disease.
Aia koe mea tolu o ni mahu inga o pito ke tau I loi. Ai uhinga o tala mai ai ke tau mui mui ke fo I lao koe ni e tolu. Koe ua ki ke tau tuiha tau mes. Koe inga ke malu I tau tolu he taimu ka pau tau tare ai pe tau mawhatua. Ke ua na alue ai mahaki ke tau tahake. Pea kohono ua o ke tonu ke tau whawa mama o ake fute ono. Ko e lao ia koe o mai ke tau mui mui ki ai. Pea kono tolu, o tau whano mau pe tau ni mai taim ko tau pe tau whakao ngā I ha whainga mea pe. Ko tonu ke tau whano tau ni mate maa.
Wearing a mask protects you and others. In these 2 scenarios, an infected woman without symptoms talks or coughs or sneezes in close range to 2 healthy women. In the top scenario, the infected woman is not wearing a mask, and only one of the 2 healthy women is wearing a mask. There is some protection for the woman wearing the mask, but the unmasked woman has maximum exposure. In the bottom scenario, the infected person is wearing a mask. The woman without the mask is somewhat protected by the infected woman's mask, but the woman who is wearing the mask has a much smaller risk.
Ia ka pau ki ai ha kau whiwhine tō tolu o nau ki whataha. Pea koe whiwhine koe o ku mau he mahaki o ki ai e ne meska nā. Koe toko ua koe o kia toko taha koe ne meska, koe kia toko taha o ki kai ke tai meska. Koe toko taha koe o ki kai ke malu ia o ku fuwhaingo fua au pito ke alo e mahaki ki ai. Koe inga ke tau mahino no mahu inga koe ke tau tui e mes ke taim ko tau pe tau alo I ka whitu ki tau whitau laki mo ka kai o te tonu ke tau tui e tau mes.
It's not enough to just have a mask. If you don't wear your mask correctly, you will not get the most protection you can out of it. It must fit properly over the nose and around the chin, with no gaps around the sides of the face. Have you seen someone like the picture on the right, with large gaps on the side of her mask and a small gap at the bridge of the nose? I'm sure we've all seen this before.
Aia koe tui koe ne mesi. O koe ke toe whiunga ke tukuange haawa ia feitu i e taim koe o ke alwai ke feitu. Ke hue si e mu o alu ki tua me iai. Ko inga o tonu ke malu i tau tolu. Ai e mes ke pau au pito o malu kia kita toko taha pe ke taimu te maana wai.
Again, the mask should cover your nose and mouth without any large gaps. Don't wear it above or below them. And try not to touch it too much. The more you touch it, the higher the chance that any coronavirus trapped on the outside of your mask will be transmitted to your hand or fingers.
Ia ku whamamawhai hene ke oa na to ia haki feitu e awa i he taimo ke tuia e mes. Pe au te tonu ke oa te ala ma upe ki he mes. Ko inga na alu e se mu meho ni ma ki he mes. O to lava alu ai se mu ke to take.
Make sure that your mask is made of material that will allow you to breathe. Materials such as plastic or leather will make it almost impossible to breathe, and you will end up taking it off.
Koe ai koe ngahi mes koe ke tau tui. O kufie mao ke ai mes te tau lava maanalo. He ka pau e ai ha mes koe ke tau lava maanalo. Koe ne hau pe no e manawa to o lewa ai mes ke tu ke tawhaki. Koe au mahu inga ke tau ilo koe tui koe mes o te tonu ke tau manawa le reipe.
Make sure that the mask is made of fabric or cloth that is tightly woven. Loosely woven material do not offer enough of a barrier to virus-laden particles. You can test it by holding your mask up to a light. If light passes through your mask, it is too loose.
Aia koe hono testimony, awe mes o whakahanga ki he māma ko ki ke sio ki ai. Pera pau te ke sio ki he māma o maheno ki manifi. Ai mes ko ke tui, ke ai ha mes ke lava malu i lei koe.
Masks made of 2 to 3 layers of material are better than ones with a single layer.
Aia ku koe mes koe to tonu ke te tui o ku matolu tua tolu. Ka pau taha pe hono leia koe o ku ngahi aki o ku ikai ko ha mes ke upside.
This picture shows someone speaking, coughing, and sneezing with no mask, 1-layer cloth mask, 2-layer cloth mask, and a surgical mask. While the surgical mask offered the best protection, there is a significant difference between the single layer and the 2-layer cloth covering. However, if you only have a single layer cloth mask, it's better than no mask at all.
O ku tolu e whahinga mes koe o tau tui. O raki o ku koe leia pe taha. Pea koe ua o ku leia e ua. Pa koe ne tolu o matolu au pito ia. Aia ka pau ke tui koe mes koe o ku leia o pe taha. Tau saya nge pe hau tae tui koe mes koe ngā he hau pe maki o hua.
Masks with vents or valves can let the virus in or out through these vents or valves, so don't use them. Some masks come with inner pockets where you can put filters. These masks have been shown to offer good protection.
Aia koe whai mes koe o tau ilo pe ai hono tui koe u mes. O kia u mes ke ni hau nau whau le reipa kia no ngahi malui. Koe ngahi mes inga to tonu ke tau tui. Koe inga ke tau hao me. Mahatu whatu tama koe.
You should only handle your mask by the loops. As mentioned before, try not to touch the mask itself. And wash your hands before you put the mask on and after you take it off.
Aia to tonu ke whanofano i ni ma ke maa. Pea toki tui e mes. Pea osi kono to'o koe mes to tonu ke toi whanofano ke toi maa o ni maa.
After removing your mask, store it in a clean bag if you plan to reuse it soon. Don't reuse dirty or wet masks. If they are washable, wash them often.
Ai aku pau ke tui e mes. Ko taim ko to ai tonu ke ave ai ki mes ko ni o fao haki plastic to ko malu. Ko ina ke o e uri. Pe ka pau o kai ke hoko me ko ia. O te tonu ke tui ha mes o ku lava ke fo ai mes ko ni o ma pato ki tui.
As many of us return to regular worship in our various places of worship, the CDC recommends that we use masks.
Koe e ai fo ke taimi e whaawa mai ai ke tawoki e whataha anga lotu. Ka ku fie mau, koe tau alu koe ki he lotu to tonu ke tau tui ai mes.
Social distancing, along with mask wearing, further decreases your risk of transmitting and contracting the virus.
Aia koe ono tui koe mes. Pea mo e tauhi koe ai waha, fute ono ke toko taha koe. Hono malu ia koe ke ona ke maamaki.
In the next series of slides, we see how these two interventions work. Here, someone has coughed. As we've discussed, while larger droplets quickly fall to the floor, the smaller respiratory droplets can remain in the air.
Aia koe taimi koe te tare ai. Koe alu koe ai whawai. O kia e whawai ni nofo pe ea. Pea koe ngai whawai koe ki matolu ange tō ia ke re. Koe taimi e ulawai ke mauha tō taha I he mahaki koe ni. E ngai whawai koe nu alu he ea te koe taha koe tō he ke re.
Depending on airflow, these small respiratory droplets can go past 6 feet.
Aia koe whanki mahaki koe ni te lana taurawa ni nā tōro o alu o laka I he fute ono.
As mentioned before, coughs project respiratory droplets as far as 12 feet, while sneezes can reach up to 26 feet away.
Aia koe taimi koe tau tare ai hange koe whamatawa. O kulawa pe whanki siemu koe ni ke alu o whalaka he fute ono, alu fute tahaua, pe fute waon.
Masks disrupt the projection of these respiratory droplets when we talk, cough, sneeze, or even sing.
Aia koe taimi koe tau tala noa ai, pe tau hiwa, pe tau tare, pe tau mawhatua, koe taimi au alu ai koe ai whanki siemu koe ni kitua.
If everyone wears a mask and socially distances, the risk of transmitting and contracting the virus through respiratory droplets is greatly reduced.
Aia ka pau tau tala mo fua ki he tutu uni koe ni e tau toke tā mo e ngai lao koe koe siko tutu mai ke tau tui e mes. Ko inga ko hono whenga peke malu I tau tolu mi he mahat koe ni.
The CDC advises that we promote social distancing at services by reducing the size of gatherings according to state and local directives.
Aia koe o kosi ai foke tutu uni e pure anga Afrika o aki moe waha o e tangata he taimu o tau alu ai ki hangen tau alu he lotu. O te tonu ke tau tauhi ai lao ko ia ko hinga kono malu I beia tau tō.
Services and gatherings should be held in large, well-ventilated areas or even outdoors, weather permitting.
Aia ku te tonu ke ea lelei e wheitu koku whai ai whataha. Tau pēa roda whare motua.
Another strategy to promote social distancing is to provide physical guides and signs to remind worshipers.
Aia o te tonu ke whakamanatu ki kai ngā lotu, ai fo I lao koe ni, ke nau tau to tonu ki ai.
We know that COVID can also be spread by the virus being present on things we touch, that can then be transferred to our eyes, nose, and mouth by our hands. The CDC encourages parishioners to frequently wash their hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, and for churches to ensure access to washing facilities and supplies.
Aia ko lava foke mahi ko ni ke alu me feitu ke feitu I ha mea tawala ki ai. Ta koe mea I koe tawala koe ki ai, o ku hokole waia ko ha ke te taimi ko te ala ai o ki hoto mata, pe koto mutu, pe koto sino, o ku alu lela mahaki ki ai. Pa kono hinga ia to tonu ke tau whano mau pe whamaa o tau ni ma. Pea to tonu ke hanga he ngahi siasi o ai umea koe ni ke available ke kakai.
Regular cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched surfaces is recommended. If a church has multiple services in one day, cleaning and disinfecting should be done in between services.
Aia koe ngahi siasi ka pau ku tau pehe ku whai ha lotu tu o ua pe to tolu. Koe osi lotu he taimi ko toa pe pau ke whama ai wheitu ko toa pe o ku pe toki whakaonga whangofu ka kai ki na hawhilo.
By using projectors, we can avoid sharing of Bibles and songbooks.
Aia ku hange koe o kai foke ke nauhanga o talamai ke tau hiwa. Ka pau ke tau whakaongai ha peha video ke tau sio ki ai whanong ki ai. E saia nge ia I he tau mui koni e lao, ki ngahi lao koni was fotu.
Finally, we can modify how we give our offerings to the church. The picture in the bottom left shows how we can pass more than just our donations in the offering plate. Many churches already utilize an offering box. Churches must also modify how they give out ingested sacraments, such as the communion. I like how this priest is not only wearing a mask, but also has a glove in the hand that is giving out the bread. In this situation, rather than place the bread in the person's hand, he can drop it there so that he doesn't physically touch her hand and inadvertently pick up the virus, which he can spread to the next worshiper.
Aia koe whaunga taha foke tau whuaki o tau wha awe pe foke toko taha koni ne tānaki mea. Ka ku ia kau tamaku na os whaongai ai hapuha ke tau o peo tuku ki ai tau whuaki. Pe hange koe sakameniti, to tonu ke tau hanga o whakaukau ha whaunga ke o te tau ala ki ai ka lava ke hau ke kakai o to o pe me abe te kinau tolu.
This brings me to the end of my presentation. Malo Aupito for this chance to talk to you about COVID-19 basics, and Malo Aupito to Saya for the great job of translating. I'm now going to hand it over to CJ, who will talk about vaccinations.
Ke mua pa toki hoko mai CJ, o ku ate whamalohe ni ki Elia, pia mo Saia, I he whamatala maarie, o whekawaki pa mo ngahi tewhito I mea o whekawaki, pia mo COVID I tahiwa. So before we hand the time over to CJ, I just want to thank Elia and Saya for giving us the basics of COVID-19. And we're grateful for the message that they have shared with us. For all the Tongans out there, please, note down your questions because we will have a time for talanoa later as we go through all the different sections, and then we'll have that opportunity. I he taimini te tau whanongo ai ki CJ, pea e ririwa tuia e nia, aia tena talanoa ai ki he mahauinga koia o e huhuta ofi. At this time, CJ and Nia will speak to you about vaccination information. CJ.
Malo la malia Hawaii ki me tonga kotoa. Ko kore ke uwhanga i whātap ko sa whakete me whareni. Ka tā mai whini motu atuani ke uwhahoko te whatongia e whiawhini. Ke whakatongia whakatonga. Ngā ko nia manpure, ko kere mai me kolomotu a. Toko mololo pea. Hate iho, tuatek ware pea mo hawhewa. Ka tak o kui heni Atalina pasi pe kai. Atalina? Henny? Is Atalina Pasi online?
She's logged in. I don't see her responding to messages either.
Okay.
She may not be available. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I don't give Atalina. Okay. I'll interpret Atalina.
Is that okay? I'll go slow and take breaks. How's that?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay,
ahead,
thank
CJ.
you. Yeah. Hi, my name is CJ Johnson, and I work for the Hawaii State Department of Health.
Malo tama wachia fini ko ngā ko CJ Johnson. Ko ngau e ke tawaki ko ne purianga. Ko he pot ngau e mo ui.
I am part of the COVID-19 Outreach and Public Health Education team.
O ko kau ke timi ko ni o COVID tahiva mo e tawaki ko nau tokoni ki he community ko ni I Hawaii ni.
Our job is to work with community leaders to address concerns and provide timely and accurate information about COVID-19 to all of Hawaii's people.
Aya ko e nau whatongia, ko e tokoni ki e ngai taki o ngā community, tari nau whehui, mo e nau ngai whe mau tokoni te kau aki mo e mahapipi ko ni ko COVID tahiwa.
Tonight, I'm here to talk about vaccines. A vaccine helps the body protect itself against a disease. It is used to prevent illness and is not a cure.
Aya ko e poni, e ne lawe at pe whe kau aki pe mo e vaccine, beko ngai hoho malui e sino ke oua te puke I he mahapipi ko ni.
It will not help a person who has COVID recover, but it will greatly reduce the chances that a person will get sick if they are exposed to COVID. Sorry. So it won't help you if you are already sick. It won't make you recover faster, but it will reduce the chances that you will get sick if you're exposed.
Aya e kai ke ne lava ia.
I'm so sorry.
One sentence at a time. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It will not help a person who has COVID recover.
E kai ke lava to koni kia te koe ka pau o ke whakautu he maha koni COVID. E kai lava toni kia te koe ke sai. Sai me pui koni ko COVID.
But it will reduce the chances that you get sick if you are exposed to COVID.
Ka e malawa ke ta ofi ka pau na ke whiohi mua taha na e puke COVID, ta ofi ke ua te ke tunga ko ke puke. Ka pau na ke pihia meha taha na e puke maha ke koe ni.
The COVID vaccine, one of the COVID vaccines was approved for use about 2 hours ago. And that means that they will begin shipping this weekend.
Aia koe taha o ngahi huhu malu I koe ni, na e whakalao, pe whakangofua, howai ua.
The first vaccinations in Hawaii will be sometime early next week.
E koe whaki huhu malu I, e ka mata I Hawaii ni, he wike ka hau.
Vaccines will be available at no cost.
Aia koe huhu koe ni, o kai tai totong, ka kiano totong.
We are currently expecting 2 different vaccines, one made by Moderna and one made by Pfizer.
Aia koe huhu e ua, tau amnaki ke tau ngau e aki. Huhu e taha ngau ke Moderna, a una ngahi Moderna, e huhu e taha ngahi e Pfizer.
Pfizer, yeah.
Pfizer. E koe kau taha e ua, nau fuatube o mai ang huhu malu koe ni.
Both of the vaccines will be given as 2 shots.
Aia whakatoa ngau huhu koe ni, tēnā o te ngau ke whakatoa ngau huhu koe ni ke malu yaki. E toko taha koe ni koe puke.
When you get your shot, you will find out which one you get.
Ai time koe huhu ai koe, te nau talatu koe hae huhu nau ngau e aki, koe hae huhu wat ke te koe.
And at that time, you will find out if it's either 3 weeks or 4 weeks before you have to get your second shot.
Pa te nau talatu e beta in tatau, koe hae fuoloa te ke tari, wike tolu, pi wike wha, pia ke toki huhu, e huhu whika wā.
The vaccine will take effect completely 2 weeks after your second shot. You will be immune.
Ai e toki kakato, ai malo, hipo ke whatongia koe ne huhu koni, o se wike ua, me ho huhu tu o wā.
A small number of people who have been vaccinated have experienced some side effects.
Ai koe whaito koni, koe whaito ke tokoni, ka e malawa pe, ai ni ihi leke leka ke nau, ke palapale mai huhu koni ka nau tau. Side effects, palapale mai huhu koni ka nau tau.
Such as a sore arm,
O pehen, e malawa pe ka mamahi hou maa, pe tu na whai huhu.
a fever,
Malawa pe ke pū, ke pe kongo ke mofi.
body aches,
Malawa pe ke kongo te langa aki, pe kongo siesi no.
headaches,
Malawa pe ke kongo ngau holu, whakawhatapu.
tiredness
Malawa pe ke kongo tā vai o ka ke hauiwi.
that usually went away after a day or two, sometimes sooner.
Ka kono moni, e malawa pe, koe ni ihi pe malawa ke nau maa o whaka palapale ma koe ni, mahako au pe taha, pe haua, mahu e te ngai palapale ma koe ni mai whakalau atu.
It may take a long time before enough people are vaccinated to relax the safety guidance. So before we have to stop wearing masks. Sorry, this is a complicated one. It will be a while. We'll have to keep wearing masks.
Ko hono mo ni niongo pe ka mata hu malu ke ni u ka hau. E kai pe he ka mata pe u ka hu pe te tau foki lima no mo le tau mo ui. Ona tui e ki folo ai hu ko ni ke ma ka to hawa eni. Ka te tau ke ngau pe fonga malu ko ni tu e tau mask ka ma ka fute ono te tau ke tau hi pe lau. Ko ale ke ka to hu malu ko ni hawa eni.
A small supply is expected to arrive starting next week.
Ai tawana ki ui ka hau. E ma mai kai fu lai fe ko hu malu si e ma o he ui ka hau.
And more will keep coming over the next several months.
E koe lau mahina ke hoko mai, e toi lahi ange a o whai to'o mahu malu uko ni o mai ki Hawaii ni.
The first vaccines will go to people who are at high risk.
Ia koe whaka hu, e whaki ma ni ihi o ku pele ngesi, pe o ku lawea ngō fua, e he mahaki koe ni.
Risk could be because of your job, because of your health, or because of household factors.
O peheni, kakai koe ni, koe ngā koe nau ngā we, koe nau job.
Health, that's all right, job, health, or environment.
Ko tu unga mo ui, o kuke puke lahi au pito, pe koho ātakai.
And environment is living in a large household with a lot of people is a risk factor.
O pehen, ka pau koe mo nofa whare, o mo toko lahi a mea nipa family, o mo ki nofa I whare pētā. Koe ngahi kakai no whakange nā tore hu malu I koe ni, au nau tuu lawea ngō fua.
If you're in a high-risk group, you will be contacted with a vaccine when it is your turn for the vaccine.
Ka pau ke kau, ke kulupu e tolu koe nei whakalau atu, e whetu take te koe, ke o atu ai fuhu koe ni ke malu e koe koe ngā ue tu I he kulupu lawea ngō fua koe nei whakalau atu.
Otherwise, check with your healthcare provider or your community leaders for updates to availability.
Ka koe whaunga taha, ka pau ke whenau ke keila, pe koe kau he kulupu koe ni, wakai ki o toke tā, wagahi taki o community, te ke lava o kau, pe ke kau ke kulupu koe ni.
If anyone would like to have a longer conversation about the COVID vaccine, I'm going to put a link in the chat.
Pea ka pau ke aha taha ia mou tolo, mou whenau ke mou toe ilo, aha toe ni alahi, pe koe ha mou whehui, pe tā laa, se kau ak mahuhu malu I koe ni, e hangai CJ o tohi atu link I he chat koe ni, ke mou whetu utaki ha ton mai ka CJ malawa ke tari ha mou whehui.
We can have a more intimate conversation and you can ask me some questions and I can provide more information.
Pea e whetu utaki koe ni, e lava ke mou whehui, ko habe whehui o mou tā laa ki ai, e lava lewa CJ o tari ngai whehui koe, pe maha tokoni, ka pau whi mau tōko ni, ke ni whakamatala te whikawak mahu malu I koe ni.
That's all for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate very much you all having me here tonight.
Mahalo api si tuk tai mi, pek whiwhia lai he CJ ke wahe mo mau tolu I he whiawhini.
Maloa pito e CJ, pia pia foki a nia, e whamatala, maarie, mo mahuinga, o whekawaki pia mo e huhu taofi. Aia ko e whainga maarie ni o ku wawe mai pia e toko ni ka te ki tau toltonga kotoa, aia ku si mahu tamaki e he mahaki ko COVID tahiwa. Te tau hoka lewa ki he konga hono hoko, aia ko e tawhake ni hono whakatotoro I o e mahaki ko ni ko e COVID tahiwa. Now we'd like to first want to thank Nia and CJ for that information on vaccination. And now we're going to, the next part is contact tracing and resources by Saya, Nia, and Telly. Ia ko e whakamatala ni ka teki nau tolo nau whai whakatotoro ki he anga pipihi ko ia e mahaki ko e ni. Aia whakatotoro I ko e toko taha ko raki mao e mahaki pa nau hanga whakatotoro I pe wanga whewhe ai whanonga e mahaki me he toko taha ki he toko taha. Peko ia e tuka te taim ko ia ke teki nau toro. At this time, I turn over the time to you to talk about contact tracing and resources.
Can I ask Saya one thing? Saya, do you want to go first and then I'll go second? How do you want to do this, Saya?
You go first because you are in link with the.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to very quickly share my screen. Give me just a second. So first off, I would like to say malolele to all of my Tongan relatives by ex-marriage. Just kidding.
Ko whakamata e whiawhini, e whi mau ki o whaale atu malolele, ki a ki mautolo, o whamiri tonga, me hoku mari whamuimui.
My name is Chantal Matangi. I am so happy to be here. I am the lead contact investigator or lead investigator for the Pacific Island Contact Tracing Team.
Ko kuingoa ko Chantal Matangi, ko awak whaiwhatongi e taki I he timi koe ni, whatotolo a ngai whetu taki o e kakai Pasifiki.
So the biggest question I always get is, what is contact tracing?
Ai ko ngai whehu I lahi o whehu I e kakai, ko hai contact tracing, pe ko ngai whakatotolo ngai whetu taki, whakatotolo ngai whetu taki, pe kakai.
So contact tracing is really all about figuring out who's tested positive, who lives in their home, who is a close contact or a coworker, and getting them the resources and assistance they need to be safe.
Ai ko e whatongia o ngā aue koe ni, ke nau whakatotolo ko hai na e sivi o mao he mā koe ni ko kolona, ko hai o nofo nau whare, ko hai o nau weo whiohi mo ia, ko anga whewhe hato koni ai pure a ngā maau, mo toko taha koe ni.
So who is a case and who is a close contact? A case is someone who has taken a test and is laboratory confirmed has COVID-19.
Ai ko tau whehu ia ni, ko haha keisi, ko hai hataha o kwe whetu taki wāo whi moia. O peheni, ko ha keisi, ko hatoko taha na e sivi, pe ko ola e sivi koe ni, o positive pe ko mao e mahaki koe kolona.
A close contact is someone who lives in the same house or who has had 15 minutes exposure to a positive person.
Ko close contact, pa ko hatoko taha o ku te whetu taki wāo whi moia, ko hakakai ni o mo nofo whakataha I a wharepe taha, pe ko hatoko taha nā ke whiohi moia, I ha mini te taha nima peto e laka ngeai.
The Department of Health gets the names of close contacts from a positive case?
Ai koe wa koe ni pureanga ta wa koe mo lelei o nau ma'u ai o hingoa koe ni o ha taha na e sivi pe ma'u o ku positive pe koe mai mahaki koe ni koe kolona.
It is very important that you share this information
O ku
because that is the only way for us to offer them resources.
o ku fu'u mahu inga faufaua ke vahe mo oni ngahi mea koe ni, ngahi whamatala koe ni. Koe whaunga pene e lava ke tau mahaki koe ni. Koe whaunga pene e lava ke tokoni atu ke ata tokoni maa me pureanga.
This information is not used to police or report.
Pea ke mo mea i pe, o koe koe uhinga tānaki a uhingoa mo whakamatala koe ni. Ko ha whaunga ke tā polisia e pe ripoti koe ke imi whakamana ia ki poe pe whakairifia, pe whakairifia i koe i kai. O koe koe tau mu ai o tānaki a ungai information po koe whakaike koe ni.
The sooner we are able to get in touch with people, the sooner we are able to get them help.
Ko hono mo oni, ko uhinga ngai whakaike koe ni ke nau ilo. Le nau ilo ko ia e malawa lewa ke malu i tau ta ofi whakamawahei. Ai ka kai koe ni na ke whio mo ia, ke ua toi pipihi atu ai mahaki koe ni. Whaunga ta ofi kono uhinga ai whakaike koe ni.
If you test positive for COVID-19, isolation is for 10 full days.
Ka pao, te ke sivi, te mau mai ola ho sivi, o positive, pe ku ke mau e maha kupika ko kolona, ko isolation, pe pao ke nofo ma kehe, whaka ma wahei, aho hongo fulu, ke lava, ke whaka ma wahei aho hongo fulu.
You will be released on day 11 if you have not had a fever in 24 hours and your symptoms are improving.
Pea i he aho taha, e malawa lewa ke ata, hiri hano sivi o koe ke toe mofi, pe aku kai ke toe ngoi puke.
If you have a fever and your symptoms are worse, your isolation can be extended up to 10 days more.
Ka pao, o se ahongo furu, o kuke o ke ongo i pēku ke mofi, pēku ke ongo i pēku ke puke. Mahina o lewa kuke whakautu e mahaki koe ni, ka toi tānake te ahongo furu, ka o lewa ke mahina ko ke sai.
If you are a close contact with a positive case, quarantine is for 14 full days, even if you tested negative any time during the 14 days.
Ka e whakatokanga tu pe ka pao, ko koe, o koe ke siwa koe ke pia mahaki koe ni, ka koe close contact, o peheni, mono whatahe wharetaha, pe o mo ngā ue whakataha mga mea koe, pehe, o pao lewa ke whakamawahe pe quarantine, aho e taha whaa. So last one should have thought 14 days, and what was the second part of it?
You will be released on day 15.
Pea hiri ata whaa koe ni, pake toki ata lewa, he aho taha ni maa.
And I think also we missed the even if you test negative.
Pea tatau e peka pata ke sivi, o ke mau ko he kolona, o te mau, ke kamawahe quarantine, aho taha whaa koe ni, kono uhinga e malawa pe ke toki mau amui o kuke pihia i he mahaki koe ni.
You can become positive anytime during these 14 days, which is why we ask you to quarantine.
O malawa pe nengo pe ke sivi, o ke negativi, po ke mahaki, e malawa pe he aho taha whaa koe ni o kuke quarantine pe whamawahe ai, e malawa pe ke puke o mau ko he kolona.
So, why contact tracing is necessary?
Ko hahana o hinga, o tau whakatotolo ai, ko haina ke whiohi moia, ko hai koe nofo mo whare, ko hana o hinga. Ko hana aonga mea koe ni, whakatotolo koe ni.
To protect your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your aunties, your uncles, your children, and yourself.
O koe ko inga ke whakamā I koe. Koe whōngan ke tokoni ke a te koe, ke malu I ka kai mahu inga ho mo ui. Ho kui, ho kui tangata, ho mehitanga, ho whae tangata, ho o whanau, mo o whamiri, pea mo koe ala.
Contact tracing stops illness in your family.
Nā ko peo ngari fie poto pe fie kau noa puri anga. Ka koe whonga nau lava ke tau ta ofi ke ue puke ai toenga ho whamiri.
And it's a way to show that we care.
Koe whonga o whakahai puri anga ko nau whenga ke tokoni ko he ngau nau whenga ke malu I koe mo whamiri.
Who is a contact tracer?
Ko hai kau whakatotolo koe ni.
They are people who care about your family and the community.
Koe ka kai koe ni o nau ofa ke te koe, nau whai koe ni ngau e koe ni koe ngau koe ofa ke te koe, pia malu I koe pia mo community, mo family mo community.
We do not care about your legal status.
O koe ke uhinga tātu e whakatotolo ke nau whea iro. O ko hātu unga no whaka immigration ni tu, inga whakalau, ngai mea pe o kai koe uhinga tātu. Ko tāte koe whea mau ke tokon ke te koe, malu I koe mo family mo community.
And we are not here to punish you.
O koe ke uhinga tātu ia ke whakatotolo I pe tau tea I koe hawhaika mea I kai. Koe tokoni, mo malu I, e tau mua ngai whakatotolo, koe tātu koe ni.
We are here to support your community to stay safe.
Koe tau mua, e ka kai koe ni. Tokoni, mo poupou, kia te koe, malu I koe, malu I family, pia malu I ho community.
If there is no contact tracing in your community,
Ka pau ka kia haka whakatotolo, I ho mo community,
more people will become ill,
e toi lahi ange ka kai e puke, e maki koe ni.
people might lose their jobs,
Pea e puke ka kai koe ni, kai ke toi lava o ngā ue, more ngā ue.
another community shutdown,
Malava peke toi ta ofi, e tau, kokolama ki tau wanga maheni whaka aho ki ai, ta ofi, wharekola, ta pune wharekola, mga hene a peke tau, na tau koutua ngai mahena kohiri.
people might have to go to the hospital,
Malava peke o ka kai, siro whare mahaki, toko te whare mahaki, koe ngā koe puke, koe pipihe mahaki koe ni.
and worst case scenario, people might die.
Ka kono mooni, koe tau whengan ke malui, ke ua tu la hoko ai pe, ai si pe kia o ka kai koe ni o tau maheni, mo tau whiohi, mo ia.
The following is a slide
Ai mo mea mai pe, ke whakatātā koe ni,
of the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases among Pacific Islanders in Hawaii
ai
since the beginning of the pandemic.
koe whakatātā koe ni watu, koe ka lafi koe ni te mausio ki ai, ke matakari kehe, mo e whika, o ka kai, i matakari koe na whakoutua pe puke i e mahaki whakaaua koe ni.
As you can see, the Tongans have done very well. Their numbers have stayed low.
Aia ko tau tōlu kai ngā tonga, o ku whawhai tau ngā we, o tau ki i, kai tau whuk maulunga, tau ki i tō lalo pe, e whika kone ka kai whakoutua i kolona.
But they are going a little bit higher.
Ka oku alu pe tai ni mo e tau kaka ki o lunga, mo e lahianga ka kai oku pipihi ko tau kakai pipihi maha ko ni.
So we need to make sure we're thoughtful in our actions.
Aia tau tōkanga pe kai ngā tonga, malatui, e ngai mea ko tarawai ka tau tōru ke tau malu ian, tu e tau meas po te ono, fufura ni mā, ke tau whenga e ke holo ai whika koe ni, e whakasi isi e ngai mate mo ngai mea pehe.
The goal of this chart is to make sure the line stays flat.
Ko tau mo ai whāti koe ni, ke mo mea te kai ngā tonga, ko tau whenga, ke ua e kaka, e tau whika ki o lunga, La he kai pihi mo fo tu he maha ko ni kai lele no molo pe ai fika ko ni mahi o tau malewa o purei o tau ta ofi ai maha ki ko ni.
So how can contact tracers support you and your family?
Tau whehui, koe anga whewhe, pe weha tokoni, ai kau whakatotolo koe ni, kia te koe, pe mo family. Koe haha nau tokoni, ma te koe mo family.
We can help you get you in contact with resources
E malawa lewa kau whakatotolo koe ni, ka pau ke whautu he maha koe ni. Tokoni at kia te koe, ke maoha ngahi, ta whaaki keke, wa keke pureanga, malawa tokoni at kia te koe ki ho o whie mau.
that can offer free grocery shopping support,
Ai e malawa ke nau tokoni atu ha shopping i toko ngai whakatau mea kai ke mo mea tokoni ai api whanga ko family.
free isolation quarantine hotel rooms,
E malawa ke nau tokoni atu ka pau FF ia api kwa ke haloki ke nofo mawahe ki ai whakasio ha hotele pe ko ha feitu ke alo nofo o quarantine ke nofo make ki ai malawa ke tokoni atu ai ka whakatotoro koe ni.
symptoms monitoring,
Malawa ke nau siofi mo toa ngai pe o whewhe ho tu unga ho puke pe nau tokon ka pau alo whakalalahi mga mea pehe.
provide educational outreach,
Malawa peke nau tokon ia te koe o hatu hangahi whakaiki ki mo whakamatala ngahi iako. Ngahi mea o ke whe ilo ki ai, malawa peke nau tokon ia atu.
refer to other appropriate services,
Malawa peke nau, ka pau ke nau lava tokon ia te koe, te nau lava whakasio hakau taha, pe ko ha tawhaaki, te nau malawa o atu mea koe nuku te mau tokon ia i.
and provide a clearance letter once you are able to return to work.
Te nau malawa pe, hili ho o osi ho o puke koe ni, e malawa kina atu ha tohi whakahongo lei, o ku clear, o ke toi puke pe whautu e maha koe ni, ka ke malawa o foki o ngā ue.
We have free COVID-19 testing,
Ai ki pō mai, mea kai ngā tonga koe ngai sivi koe ni, o ku malawa pe ke sivi tai tō tongi, he sivi kolona koe ni.
I have listed the public health, which offers free testing, and all of these resources will be emailed to all those who are participating tonight.
Pea mō mea mai pe ka inga koe lisi eni, o u kliniki, whare mahaki, pe u feitu, teke malawa o alu o sivi tai tō tongi ai. Pea hili e pao kalama koe ni, e email te Chantel, ka toki mō tolok mō ihe ni, ai lisi koe ni, ke mō vahe vahe, e ni ihi te nau whia mau toko ni.
And all these are specific to the areas that you live in.
Ai koe u feitu koe ni, o ku tipeni pe me feitu ke no whai, pea ke sio ko fefe, ai whare pe koe kliniki e malawa toko ni ka te koe, pa ke tāki e, ko fefe feitu ko ofi kia te koe. U lahe u feitu koe ni ka toi hawa ini o ahu, ke mō, ke ofi, ke no whanga ke almau toko ni ai.
We have Hawaii Cares, and they offer free isolation quarantine units for residents, as well as free delivery of food, personal hygiene items, and cleaning supplies.
O kia kau taha koe ni ko Hawaii Cares, mai whika telefoni, nau tokono kia te koe, o atu ha feitu ke nofo ai, pe ke ahe tā whapa a hongo fulu koe koe whamapahe iai, tokoni a tau tō, ke feitu ke nofo o quarantine te whamapahe ki ai. O nau tokoni atu Hawaii Care ke tiliwa tau mea kai, pe ko ha o mea teu, mo o mea whakamaa whare, whakawhatapu. O ngahi mea pe heu ke whemau, ma lawe Hawaii Cares o tokoni i ngahi mea koe ni.
The isolation quarantine units are for emergency cases and in situations where you are unable to isolate or quarantine at home safely.
Ai koe, whakoni ha koe hotel, piko no whaanga ki no whakapawahe ai, o ku o atu ia ke ni ihi ange koe ni, o ku si e whare, pa ko te alo whare loki makehe ki alo whakapawahe ki ai, pe koa emergency, taime ku whainga tā ia whi mau tokoni, whakapawahe pa whainga tā ia. nau malawa toko nea ke te koe.
We also offer housing assistance, which is the rental assistance. And I have listed a few of the agencies that still have money available.
Ai kai ngā tonga, ko e tawhaakieni o e reni, pe ko e totongi no fuanga. Ka pao o ku ke whakautua e mākoni, pea o ku whaingata ke totongi o reni, ko ngahi ka hutaha ke keheni o ku atu, te nau malawa tukone ke te koe totongi ho reni, pe ko ho no fuanga.
We also offer food assistance.
O ku nau malawa peo te tokone te tawhaki o e mea kai.
And these are not ones that would be delivered to your home, but rather food sites where you can go and pick up food.
Ai koe ko tawhaaki e o mea kai ke nau ki liva atu ki api, ka koe tawhaaki e ne o koe ngai wheitu ke kehe, o koe malawa peo alu ki ai o ma o mai hao mea kai tai totongi.
A continuation of the list.
Pea koe konga pesien hono ua, o ngai wheitu te ke lava alu o ma me ai ha mea kai pe ma mea tokoni.
We also have utility assistance for those who have been affected by COVID-19.
Ai kai ngā tonga ka pao na ke pū ke whautua maha koe ni, malawa pe ke totongi ho o uhila, ho o vai, utilities, ngai mea pehe, o wea ta whaake e pureanga, te na malawa tokoni ake te koe totongi a whanki pila pehe.
And this is a list of websites that offer you general assistance. So just if you have questions about COVID-19.
Pea koe o website i ke he pēni o ko hata te ke mō tolu, ka pao ko mō whi mau tokoni pe whiwhiwi, pe whehu ia whika aku a COVID tahaiwa, a whenga mea pe, e malawa o website koe ni, ke ne whakamatala pe whakaikiki atu, whika o aki ngoi COVID tahaiwa.
And this will be, again, given to them at the end of the presentation.
Ai kai ngā tonga, e hiri e tau whaataha koe ni, e hanga lewe e Chantel o email e ka mautora e lisi koe ni, ka pau e aunga ke te koe, pe a sai, pe ka pau ke hau kaunga api, maheni, pe family, pe wak tokoni, koe lisi en te wahe wahe manau tōngu.
And for those who are joining us from Maui, I also have a list for you as well.
Pea ko ki mautolu o mo si kaumai me Maui, o ku iai a lisi makehe, o ngahi tokoni i Maui te ke lava o mau tokoni ai, te oa te lisi koe ni, hiri a polo kalama koe ni.
So when and how do you contact the Department of Health?
E ko whai o hoko. Te whetu utaki, ki he whaako ne o pureanga, ta whaako pongau mo ui, a whe, pe koe haha whaunga, te whetu utaki ai ki he pongau mo ui.
The answer is anytime. And I have included my email and also my cell phone.
Kona moni, koe tari, ha whenga taimi pe o koe whe mau tokoni. Pea koe whika telefoni no Chantel o kone liseni, pea mo ne emaili, ha whenga taimi pe o koe mau tokoni, tā mai ki ai, pe email mai ki ai ke tokoni atu, kia te koe.
We'll take questions at the end, but thank you guys so much for being patient during our presentation today.
Malo lahi whawhaua si tu taimi, mo e whanongi ki presentation koe ni, pea ka tāki ka paukaha mo whehui, tohi mai pe, kai ki tai tāriwe ke osi, ke whamumui tau programa, e wate whenga mai ke mo tolu, ke mo lau, pea whehui mai homo ngai, tala mai homo ngai whehui. Malo apita si tu taimi.
Ato e whamalohe ni ki a Chanteli, pe he foki ki a Nia, ko e whamatala mahuinga na whakahoko o whekau aki pe mo e kau whakatotoro korona. Aia ko ki nau toro i nau whai e ngāwe mahuinga, i ki he potu ngāwe mo ui ko ia a Hawaii, ko no whakatotoro i angai pipihi ai mahaki ko ni ko korona, Pea oku whatawanga penda ao ngā tu ai ki whamatala ko ia. I want to thank Nia and also Chantel for that great presentation about contact tracing and the resources and also the importance of this work within our community of tracing the way that coronavirus spread within our community. So thank you, Malo Pito. At this time, we are going to talk about innovative cultural practices, Faikava, funerals, and also church gathering. And we are going to just, I'm going to lead the conversation in this part, and hopefully we can talk about ways that will help us in these particular areas. Kainga tonga te tau ki tala noa whakaloto whare pe. O whekawaki pea mo e tawhaaki mahauinga koe o wawen e toru e tau nofo whakatonga. Aia koe whaikawa, koe mea whakaeiki, pe koe u apisia putu, pea pehe foki ki he u whaianga rotu. Aia koe tawhaaki ende toru o ku wha maunga tā maki ai ho tau kāinga e he COVID tahiwa. Pea koe ai te tau ki I tala noa iha rea mahino, koe uhi koe ngai tawhaki koe ni, koe haha whahinga whaunga te tau whai ke whai ai ha ngā aue, pea o ku mahauinga ke whai ha ngā aue ke o mai ha ngai whaunga whaou, ai ko ha whaunga whaou ke riri wai ai tau wheohi he ngai tawhaki koe ni ke tokon ka te ki tau tō. So we're going to be talking about innovative practices in these areas, which are important to Tongans, and hopefully we'll find some innovative cultural practices that will help us. And I will start and maybe share a few that will help us. And we're just going to do a straight talk tonight because these are areas where we, most of the spread of corona have happened within these places or within these occasions, whether it's Faikava or funeral or at churches. Pa koe ai ka inga koe uraka mea pego fie tala noa ki ai koe tau kamata pe me he Faikava. Koe mahauinga whakateki tau toru koe Faikava, mahauinga ke anga tau nofo whakawhonua, pe he whoki tau hoe ki tangata, o e whonuani, koe ape ki he whiawhi, mo manako ke mo kau atu ki he Faikava, tau te whito ki he tau kāinga tonga koe he ni. Ka koe wheitu endo kulahi ai mawhora ai COVID tahiwa. Oku atu rewa ki foi whakaukau koe ni ke tau toki mahape tau tānoa ke anai. I Nuksila, oku nau koe taimi koe nai whakatapu-tapu I ai ngahi wheohi I Nuksila. Koe mea na nau whakahoko I Nuksila, koe nau whaikawa pe o ngawe aki ai wahao pe koe ngaru pe. Ai te tau pehe koe whaikawa fo o wen o kui koe whaikawa he o pe. Ai ang nofo mai pe toka taha me hono api mo ene ki tanoa pe kumete mo ene ki ipu kawa whai ene whaikawa mai me ai mo ngawe aki pe ai wahao pe ke tau tala noa mo e kakai ko ia hono kau ngā maheni. Pea na nau ngawe ke I Nuksila pea nai fu wala rerei ka kou pepe ke tuku mai pe ki hen ki Hawaii ke tau waha tau ki wakai pe aonga pe lava pe tau lava whakahoko ia pe I kai. So the first innovative cultural practices has to do with Faikava in New Zealand. They did Zoom Faikava, and these Zoom Faikava is where a person would stay in his home with his own bowl of kava bowl and also his kava, and then Zoom to the rest of his friends, and they would have a Faikava. So they were still able to sing, they were still able to talk, yet they maintained the physical distance. Ai koe konga mahauinga ia o whahinga Faikawa koe ni koe lava pe ke kei tauhi ai wā mamao. Mana whutu I whoki koe konga mahauinga ne tauhi wā mamao koe nofo. Tau wā mamao a ke fute ono pe toi lahi ai. Ai ana lava ke whakahoko ia I mea koe. Ai o koe ke u lava I pe lava ai no whakahoko I Hawaii ni pe I kaika koe. O atu pe ai ngahi u whaunga. Ai ka ngai whaunga whaogu lava whakahoko tau kainga. Ai o nau nofo I he ngai wheitu ki he tau kawai a Nuksila ki he tawhaki koe ni. Urakia. Pea mape te tau toi whehui pia anai. Ko hono ua, koe tau mea whakaeiki, apisia putu. Ko tui koe konga rahe ki nau toru ku o si mau e he korona, e mau he COVID tahiwa, koe mau me he tau ngahi mea whakaeiki. Pea o mau inga whoki e ngahi mea whakaeiki, ke iai kotoa kāinga, pea kau kātoa mai ki ai, o tau iai whoki e tau rea tonga. Mau inga ke kaunga maari e ai ngahi o wau koe ni. ka I he taim tatau ko he wheitu e nukulahi e mawhorai ai COVID. Ura ki pe ko hui ku whaalahi pe tai toka ngā o I kai ke tuiho nau ngai mea malui. Pe I kai ke tauhi ai wā mamao. Pe kono ua pe I kai ke whano. Pe koutu pe e ka inga tonga. O ku whatonga I pe ku ia e ni ku nau la pe ke whahauka ngai mea whae ki o ngau ki pe o pe. Mo nau ka inga me ngai wheitu ke ki o nau ke kau mai pe. Ka o ku tau sai pe ke tau tala noa pe ko hahato I ngai whaunga te tau lawa ke whakahoko pe tau o wau mau inga koe ni. Pe lawa ke whakahoko kotoa e ngahi tawhako e ni ke la pe ke tau hia. And this other part of funerals, and you know, this is important for all of us Tongans to come together to funerals, pay our respect, say goodbye to our loved ones, and yet this is where, as far as I know, and maybe the ones from the Department of Health here can support me on this. This is where most of our COVID-19 have been spread from one person to others. So these are spreader events, yeah, or maybe I would say super spreader events, because this is where, you know, many of us are coming from all different parts and we're not wearing our mask, we're not keeping physical distance or social distance, and also not washing our hands in these funerals. So I know that some families have used the internet and used Zoom and other ways to broadcast live their funerals so that other members can participate and not have a lot of people there. And perhaps this is another area that we can talk about when we have questions and answer. But we need to change our ways of performing our funerals in order for us to keep others safe. Pea ko hono whika lewa hano toru, aia ko e tau ngahi whai anga lotu, ko e kakai lotu whoki tau toru, pea mau inga lotu, ki tau toru ke tau kau ki ai he sapate ko toa pe, ka oku hange koe nei, o whamatara pe ki ai a Elia ane nai, ai mau inga ke tau hia wa mamao, pea tau toe whai ehi, me whonga e mawhora ai corona, pea mo COVID tahi wa rotonga ko ia e tau lotu. Ai au ku iai pe ngai siasi ko na ulotu fai pe I he mahao pe ko ngā rua pe o whakamawhora mai pe I he ngā rua pe pea takitaha mea mai pe I hono api o maulotu pe me iai. Ai ko e whaunga re ieni ke tau ngāo e aki. Pea ka pau I kai ke lava ko ki mo toko mo whatake mo whainga whaunga ke whahoko ai ke tau e wa mamao. And so the churches, some have used streaming it live. And that's been a way that been useful for others. But those are the three areas. I just wanted to sort of kind of bring that we need to innovate and create new cultural practices. That's something we've always done, culture change, and that's okay. We just have to find a very respectful way to do it. So hopefully maybe in our questions and answers that we can discuss some of these areas. So those are the three areas. Telly, do we want to open it up now for questions and answers?
Yes, I think that would be great. I would also like to add, and maybe Tia or Nia, you can help with the interpretation on this. I would also like to add that at the Department of Health, we do recognize the importance of cultural exchanges. We don't want you to stop. We just want you to be safe. What we know, and as a Samoan and as a Pacific Islander, I understand the importance of being able to have that cultural exchange to show our love one for another and also our support. But we don't want to attend a funeral and then have to attend more because they went to a funeral and came home with COVID-19. So again, it's all about being innovative and thoughtful in our processes. A mask is not comfortable, but it's a lot more comfortable than a ventilator. And we want to make sure that mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa, cousins, aunties, and uncles are not here only today, but also in the foreseeable future.
E o ki mautoro koe e potu ngāo e mo ui o mau lawe I ai mau inga o e tauhi waha a, fuaha tau ngai whatongia, I he tau ngai wheohi, pe pehepe ki tau ngai mea whaka eiki, ka oku mau inga whoki ke tau toe whau ngai whonga fo o mai hanga hi a kenga fo o e tau ngahi mea whakawhonua ke uhi ke tauhi pe maru I ai ki tau tolu. Ko uhi ke toronga pe ke mo ui whoroa e tau o mātua whangakui pe pehe whoki ki he whamiri. Pa koi ai o ku koe konga e ke tau toki whaiha tau whakakaukau ki ai e ka inga tonga ke o mai ngai whonga whoou ki he ngai tawhaki koe ni mo e tau ngai o au whakatonga koe ni. So I guess at this time we'll open up for some questions. E ka inga tonga, malo apito mo ke wheao mo ki mautoro au mai ki he lava ne me lava tau hou ai ua e tau I hendi I he whareni. Pa koe o tuku atu ata e whanga, tuku mai ha mo ngahi whehui ke tau talatala noa ki ai o whekau aki pea mo corona virus I pea pehe whoki ki he COVID-19. So thank you everyone for being here, and I open the floor for anyone who wants to ask a question, whether on the chat or you can talk to us through Zoom. So the floor is yours.
Te veta kataki ko siwaki. O kuongo atu
Whafa. Io, whafa pita siwaki, tuku mai ho whehui.
Ko fie tānaki atu pe au ki he tau kāinga. Ai tokoni ko ena whahoko mai ko ena me Sinteo. Ai nofo. O kuna e fuke fo I konga au pe he ka pau fie te puke. Pea te lava pe o nofo I api kai holo pe waipi pe me a kotoa ku te ala ki ai. Ko tui au Dr. O ku tai aunga pite foi konga e koe ai tau tawhaaki. Ko e foi tānoa loloa ia o ai ke mea kotoa pe ku ke ala ki ai te ke waipet I no ke maa. E puke whamiria. He, ka koe mea tau whiewhi ai o koe polokalama koe nā o kui ai e tokoni ki ha nofoanga isolation. Ke ave koe ta e totongi. O nofo mawahe au pito pepe o te whawhesi o whaki ia he ku seifi ange ia. Ko whie whamalo pe au ia ke ngai tokoni ko ia. Pe a lahi whukumu ngai tokoni ke he. Whakamui atu ki he whiohi whakatonga Dr. Devita. Koe kou I here te oni o teke ai mea koe ni I taimi kotoa. Ka hiri ko ia I he kuwā whakatonga na alu ke mau ki putu. Pa kai ke ulawa au ia o sei I kai ke taimi kou hao ai whamiri ke whiloaki koe me hau me mainle ni pea matu tāmaki ai. Aia koe I ulunganga koe ni oe kai ke te lava I kai hange ngari whakamā mahalo na si o mai o kai ke te whie loaki ka tonu pe ke pegosi ako au ia ai pa kai ke te whakaanga ta kai you put yourself I he position ia he alu ki he putu sa pe no whakitai api pa koe te alu ki ai pa kai ke te lava e kita o ta ofi a ngahi mea koe na tautoksio ki ai he ahoni ai fute o no mo e mea kehe pe te tau tō ai ke whaingata. Kai ke, ka kou whamalo ki a koe aho ni ke ne toi whakamama whai mai. Pa hange pe ko ho mea nei lawe ki ai. Koe ha toi mahu inga ki iwa whakatangata ki he mate pe koe te tai ofa tu whamiri o mai ki ai ngai mahaki. Aia koe whakamalo, ko ke ki aha whehui ka koe mahino mo e whakamalo I he fo I polo kalama ti te ila koe ni na muto ki whakahoko. Pa ko tui te hoko atu whakaonga I atu mo ngai sos ko ia. Malo pito.
Thank you, Siwaki. So Siwaki basically is a comment and a little bit of a question. The first comment is about the isolation. And he's grateful that there is a place that people can isolate because living at home and trying to stay in isolation and try to clean the home and wipe down everything is impossible to do, not feasible for Tongans to do. So he thinks that that's a great resource there to be isolated by removing to another place. And then the other one, I think it's a good question that Siwaki raised is about, when we see our relatives at funerals or in other occasion, we want to fe'iloaki, basically to say hello by kissing people on the cheek, which is a very important cultural practice. And it's hard to say no when you're at the, so maybe this is something for our Department of Health, the Pacific team. Do you have any recommendation on how you can say no to somebody who comes to Very
I
lucky
don't.
with you.
I don't think we have to say no. I think we can do fist bumps. I think we can do elbows. I think we can do everything except actually leaning in and having that. And I know how difficult it is. Um, I can tell you from my own experience, when I see my family, it is very hard for me not to go up and to give them a hug and not to have that exchange with them. But I think what we have to keep in mind is that it's more important that we not be spreading the disease. And we never know how someone is going to react to it. So for me, the bigger idea is protecting them by, again, my dad and I do this. We fist bump. Me and my sisters, sometimes we do the elbows, or we do the Samoan rock eyebrow. I don't know if I can do it. But or we give the the head. So we do everything except for that. And I think if we understand it's only for this short amount of time, we can do it. It's not forever. It's just until we can get past goal right now. So Mia and T, I don't know if you guys are able to translate that for me. Sorry, I tried to make it succinct.
Go for it, Nia.
I'll try. Aia koe e whamatala koe a Chantel o kune mahi no I be e tau ngā whatonga he kora mōni o ta tau pe mo ngā koe ni whawhonua kau hamoa. Koe mea whainga taa ke te au ki a putu ke te lava alo whi iloa ki mo tō taha ko ia, i whakalea ke tō taha ko ia. Ai koe ngahi whale I bena Chantel, taim lahi, e koe ni whonga koe fist bump, koe tā nima, koe ngai whonga whi iloaki, kau koe ke kāwai whi iloaki ko ahe mo ngai mea pehe. Ka koe hana whakatoa, koe tau mua, koe malui. Malui koe, pia malui mo whamiri. He ka pau te ke puke, te ke malawa pe ke pihia ho whamiri, ka pa te ke alawhi iloaki mo whamiri, te e pihia toko tahaku ia ka pau ku ke puke. Ko hale wana aonga ho whi iloaki, o sen ko ia ko koe o ke tō whaki, ai mahaki ko ni o si hoku ai ha mata ko puki ho family. Ke tā mana tu I pe ko uhinga, ko ngai whakahi ehi, mo ngai wharei ko ni, ko tō koni, ke malu I koe pe mo family.
Thank you, Nia, for the translation. Siwaki, I hope that give you some ideas. And these are the cultural innovative aspect. We could just say hello. We can still talk to them from a distance. But I know the pressure is difficult. But I think this is why we're doing this educational process.
I just want to let my audience here. I'm live streaming this on Radio Tonga, Hawaii. And I have my live phone on. But yes, you can call and ask a question, and I'll refer to this. Esai beia
Ia, fa pito.
Okay.
Yeah.
Malo.
Yes.
Hogot.
Io.
Kata ki peko, mo say.
Io, malo le sei ni malo e lava mai. Io, ata e whanga.
Io he ku mei osie makai ako ku computer, iPad.
Io.
I'll be dead in a little bit anyway. I want to get this over with. Kako ku fehu I. E toki osia te ki putu na ku auki ai. Pea negai ke alau ki whare na alpea o nofo parking lot. Ko tu ko whonga ia taha e lawa e peke te alpe kita. He ko me putu ko tau pehe taimino live stream mai ia he family. O te sio pe kita ia I tu a whare. I te mea lele. Pe auspe pa te alo ati family, pa te alu kita e koe ke te kau kita he iloa ki mo. Ka koe ke ngata pe he tau whi iloa ki a kou ahe koe he tau fuafua whi iloa ki. Ka koku mena whatoa ngai ai whi iloa ki koe moe peki a. Na e whi iloa ki ai family hofi taha o au ki he kakai pena e watu pe o nau uma ki he peki a. Pea koe wau ke kau whai whekau. Ka he taimi lahi, kou tui koe kau taki ke nau hanga o o tuku mai ai whai taki anga pe koe tāsi pinga ma ai kakai koe o siasi pe koe community ko kunau nofo i ai. Pe koe bakai atu pe ai kakai o siasi pe moi family o ku whai e loa ki o pe kia he kau whai whekau pe te nau whai pe hepe mo kunau tolu. O kia pe whonga ki te alpe tu o whaapa ki he pe kia. Not necessarily ke alo uma ki ai. He pakani ihi nau toho nau mask ai mea tali manawa to oi ka nau toki uma ke pe kia. Ni ihi ana nau atpe uma pe mo nau mask. Koe mea ko tokanga kia he mea na wakai kia i he putu whamui na kulawa kia malo.
Thank you so much, Saini. Saini raised an innovative practice that we as Tongan can practice when we attend a funeral. She recently attended a funeral where she stayed in the parking lot with her car and watched the stream live of the funeral service. So that's one way, because most of our Tongans today are streaming it live, and so you can do that in a very safe distance. She also raised the question about not only are we lucky, or we go and kiss people in the cheek, but also the deceased, which is a Tongan practice. And she's raising the idea that perhaps we can still be there, show our respect from a distance. You don't have to go and kiss the deceased, as this is one practice that we can actually perform, which I think is really good for us to maybe use at this particular time. So malo pito saying, I think that's a great cultural innovative ideas, or innovative cultural practices.
I wanted to add to Saini's, which thank you so much for that. Also, going and attending, but watching it on the stream. I know we had recently a Samoan funeral where they streamed the funeral itself, and they had a drive-through viewing. So what they had everyone do is, as you came into the funeral home, you rolled down your window, you had to have a mask on, and the funeral participant or the funeral home employees let you know you could go ahead and pull forward. The casket and the family were there. You could give your CE or your gift, so that way you had that cultural exchange of love. You were unfortunately unable to leave the car, but you could have, your 5-10 minute exchange. And then as they moved forward, the family had food there, which, if you're a Pacific Islander, you know how important our food is. So they were given that food, and then they were shown where, here's the exit, you can go ahead and leave. So again, it is being innovative in our practices. So we're still having that cultural exchange, but we're doing it in a way that protects both the family and those who are in attendance.
Ke whamatala bena Chantel I he puta pamumuna au ki ai, pe koe whonga who'oweni na nisi o ki ai, o peheni na hangi beta drive-through po tau whauri, tau ko o tata mea kai ko drive-through, ko whonga mahiri na ngau ke putu ko hi o peheni. No whopeho mea rele, pa koe time koe taratua ki ke hau, pe ke wharauri atu, o aveho o ngai koloa, pe ko ngai mea ofa, ki he putu koe ni, o ka ki whaha hifo mangia mea pehe, hiri koe ia, pea te hoko a lewa ma oho mea tako ni po prea kai, pea hoko a lewa ho whanonga, koe whonga ni ai kau haa moa, and whaki lau pe whai oau koe putu, e taim tau o ku malu, lava whai ho whatongia, pe loaki mo whakaha apasia ke pekia, kai ke malu I pe, o ke puke hata. Nga pe whamatala Chantel ai whonga koe na kau haa moa, I he na o wau putu, pa whamara ka sein hin o hake, ai tala noa koe ni.
Thank you, Saini, and thank you for that. Yeah. Malo pito te aha taha te aha te whehu I mai. Eko whaunga who'owen. Ka taki peo mea pe I ho mea rere. Pea ka wai pe ki he mea whaka eiki. Pea kei maru pe mea kotoa pe. Kai kei lava pe ho tau whatongia, koe tau hi ho tau wā. Tau ka inga, mo tonga, mo whaapa apa kotoa, kei lava kotoa pe. ai malu pe ho tau kainga. Ke hata pe ke tuku maha whehui, me hata pe ko hatoi tānaki mai pe ke tau ngai mea whewhe ai whaikawa. Ko wakai atu pe ui ai e toko rahi heni o kunau i he tawha ki ko ia ke tau o mai moha ka hai whaunga fo o e whaikawa e toko ni ke tau malu ai. I see a lot of kava drinkers in here, so maybe you can help us with how do we have a safe whaikawa?
And I think also, T, you have a question from
Oh.
Kilisi Lola.
Oh, can
If she
maybe
can
read it?
unmute,
Oh,
I'm going to ask her to unmute so she can
yes.
ask her question.
Okay, got it. Malo apito katak mo ko tanaki atu pe ki pe ko fia ilo ke kakai ko na close contact ko o quarantine he a hongo full a tafa. O kuia e ngai family ko ilo I ea o si puke e kakai e na tolu and they stay together with a lot of people in the household. Ka ko fehu I o ku tatawa I pe me whainga koko o ku tesi, me whainga ko positive, me whainga ko negative. We still contact you, Chantel?
So so this is for the isolation and for those who are positive and those who are negative. You can, if you tested negative, but you're in a home where there's both negative and positive, so people who have tested positive and people who don't have it, you can contact me so that way I can help you to set up isolation units. So that way we're separated. I think this is a good point because if you do not separate, for those of you who are negative and you stay in the same home, we cannot start your quarantine until their isolation ends. And that's because for those 10 days, they are infectious. So all that time, they're possibly giving you the virus. And so that's why we want to make sure that we separate so that they can do their 10 days and you do your 14 days and then you come back together. Mia, I'm so sorry. That's probably a lot for you to.
Ai ko buk mahina de whakamatala ka papa ke pautona ni ka ki mahina ka nato open. Io, ka tawa pe ka pau o ka kai mono whataha family o ku mao e maha ki ko ni pe ko ni heu negativi. O ku fie ma o ke whakamawa hei ke o ai pipihi hato I taha kehe I e maha ki ko ni. Ke tu tak mai pe ka Chantel e toko ne ka motolu whakasio ha mono fo anga pe ko hotele ke ave ki ai a toko taha koen o puke maki ka oleva ke kamata e quarantine pe ko ke kamata e quarantine pe ka mawahe ko ni ke mate ai mahaki ko ni tatape ko ka positive ka mama o puke mako ni pe ka ke puke ke tu utaki me fe ma o ke ka mawahe ato ai family ko ni te lia na pihi ai toinga ai family ato ko ne te Chantel ka hotel mga me pe
Ako ko taha ko quarantine to taka ka pau ko ni isolated ave ke hotel. Pe ko foki mai ko to taha ko positive ke api. E ke lava pe ke ta pipi pe mak tata ko nga pe ko ha me fa ke e to lava ke to puke he mak tata ko nga ko foki mai pe ya ke original place, you know, or we have to clean if they do ga ke ma alele pa to taha ko fai. That's all I want to know.
So her question is basically if somebody is sick and then went to isolation and then return home, can they
possibly get it again?
Get it again from home or from others?
How long does the virus can it no for mo uye pe tu go ya go to a droplet go ya.
Got it. So I'm going to ask Elia to help us with this. He's actually also a doctor, but I'm going to tell you that the chances for you getting it a second time within the next 2 to 3 months is very small. So if you have had COVID once and you've gotten over it, the chances of you getting it a second time within the next 2 to 3 months is very rare.
Okay.
Very, very rare. And that's why we allow you to go back with those who have not tested positive, because if they do become symptomatic, again, that's super rare. And then, Elia, are you still here? Sorry. I'm going to have him add to that, and maybe T or Nia can translate that, or CJ.
Could you translate the last part of the question? I think she said something about droplets.
Yes, she wanted to know
How long will it live?
How long does it live?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the surface that it falls on, right? There are different surfaces. The general two categories are porous surfaces and non-porous surfaces. Porous surfaces are things like cloth, paper, material, cardboard, wood. Okay, and those they live different amounts of time on those, and then non-porous are like copper, steel, and plastic. So I don't have the memorized, but I do have the list here. For plastic, they can live an average of 3 to 4 days on plastic surfaces. On stainless steel, it's 3 to 4 days. On glass, it's 2 days. Cloth, usually 1 day. The surgical masks that they found that they can last for up to average of 4 to 7 days. So that's why it's very important that if you have a surgical mask, remember I was talking about don't touch the mask when you handle, just use the loops. Because if there's coronavirus on the mask, you can touch that, get the coronavirus on your hand, touch your face, and then you get the coronavirus. So yes, you have to be careful about that. About when you come back from isolation, so you've been at the hotel, you come back. When you've had the disease, your body has already made some things in your to defend you. Okay, so that if the virus tries to attack you again, you have those things in your body called antibodies, as well as other parts of your immune system that are now ready. They recognize the virus. When the virus tries to come, they will be there to stop the virus. So when you have the disease, you get over it and you get better, then you have some level of immunity. Immunity means you're able to defend and repel the virus, and you won't get sick. How long is that immunity? Our scientists still don't know exactly, but what we're telling people is maybe up to 3 months your immunity can last. However, you must still wear your mask, do social distancing, wash your hands, because we're not sure, right? And we're not sure if just how long that immunity can last, and whether or not you can still transmit the virus through your hands, right? By touching things and touching other things. So even though you have that immunity, you still need to wear your mask, you still need to do social distancing, and you still need to wash your hands frequently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kataki, sorry, I'm referring some questions o how Facebook. There's two things here. Elia, they want to thank you so much for the detailed explanation of how he travels even up to 26 feet, and what they learned there, is very important, and I think it needs to be repeated over and over. But CJ, they talk about what you mentioned. The vaccine is not to cure, but it's more to prevent. And and that's why what is learned today from Elia and from all of you is to do every day, even when vaccine is not. When vaccine are here, yeah, we can go Faigava and do everything else. Pero me fa muy Dr. Kairi ko kakai go fake mask, cheap mask. he o ke he peke ai o ai no ia ke pepa ki ai ki holo holo hange pe ko ke whakalao ke lava pe o hu ki whare koloa pe carry on in our business ko ki foi ta tokanga ia o koe ke nau lava o ka koe whamatala ko e lia he ahoni mo sio koe he anga e tui koe mask to put it on properly he te ke lava pe o fool yourself thinking that you safe because I have a mask, I have something i mua hoku ngutu mo paenga. You're faking yourself mo ta e ofa ki he ni i. O kusaya e mahalo e Dr. Kairi e tau kakai. Ke whaki whakamore pa mahalo koe whehu i ai kalasi ke he koe na tolu pe wha. He ko ilo koe ngahi meas o kuna ngalo ke tō mai o kuia no fika. Pe koe N96 pe koe ha o a best one ke te lava koe o manava. Hangi koe na mulawe ke ane nai. Ke fuoloa e te tui. E kai ke sai e mass ia, ko e os baby minite e ua to o ia, ka ko foi idea ko ia e Dr. Kairi fa mai mor, o ai fa tonga pe ko hinga ko e kau fihu i ko mai, refer at pe na to malo apita.
Thank you. And maybe Elia, you can just he has some questions about the different kind of masks. You got a big fan out in the cyberspace who are grateful for your detailed explanation of the different kinds of masks and the way that the coronavirus travel. So some have masks that have numbers like N95, N96. Do you have any recommendation on what masks people should wear and so forth? And maybe spend a little bit of money to get the mask that would give the maximum protection.
Thank you for the question. I would suggest for those N95 masks and the medical surgical masks, we're asking people not to wear those because the supplies of those masks are running low. And so we want to leave those masks for our frontline healthcare workers, like the nurses and the doctors and the other medical staff that are dealing with people who are sick with COVID in the hospitals. So we want to ask you, try not to buy up those masks and leave the supplies for those people, because those are the best masks. Those are the masks in all the studies and the tests that they've done. The N95 masks have been shown to be superior in protecting and stopping the droplets from escaping from your mouth and nose, but also in protecting you from the incoming droplets. The cloth masks, depending on the type of masks that you have, how many layers, they've been shown to be anywhere from 27% effective, which is very low, all the way up to about 87, 90% effective, almost the same as the medical grade masks. So they don't really know, because there's so many different types of masks that are out there that are being made and being sold to people. But if you just follow the simple guidelines that I had talked about, masks that are 2 or 3 layers are better. Make sure that it's made of woven fabric that's tight enough to prevent the loose fabric. All right. The test is you hold it up to the light, and if you can see the light come through, it's too loose. It's not going to do a good enough job. The masks that have the filters that you can take in and out, those are also good. Don't use masks that have the valves. The valves, they seem like a good idea because you think, oh, it'll allow me to breathe. But actually, it can also let some virus in as well as let some of the viruses out. And again, it doesn't matter if you have a mask, but if you're not wearing it properly and you're not caring for it properly, then you're not getting the most protection out of it. And you might even end up, if you touch the mask too often, you might get some of the coronavirus that might be in the mask. Thank you.
Thank you. So aki mahape ku mahina pe pa ke toki hanga pe o toki whakatonga tu pe ki ho kau whanongo. Ka koe mea mahuinga pe ki ai ke lo ua pe lo tolu, ke ki matolu. Ai aku ne o mai pe ai whaunga ko hanga pe o hake ai ki mea tari mānawa, pe koe marui, o ke wakai kai pakapau pe kulava o te sio hu mai pe ai uhila ai, pe koe māma, tau ku ki manifi Manifu ki wai ke toki whenga ke toki matoluang. Ako e toko net peki ai. Yeah. So good questions, everyone. Chantel, how's our time?
We're doing okay. We
we're
have
doing
another.
okay?
Yeah, we have another question, and this
Okay.
one has to do with so after you have church, I know a lot of the churches like to have meals together. In Samoan, we call them the kongai, and the question is, how do we? What are best practices during this meal time? Because that does seem to be, you go into the chapel, you're wearing your mask, you're social distancing, but afterwards, you go out, you're sitting there, you take off your mask because you're eating. So how do we do that safely? So I'm gonna very quickly answer my own question. Sorry, but the answer to that is you stay with your own family. So, and you stay 6 feet apart from each other, so you still social distance. So when you're eating, again, stay with your household members. And if you get up and you're interacting with other people, best practice is to wear your mask. Because again, that's somebody outside of your bubble. So I hope that was clear. Because again, that does seem, it's very easy when you're eating to just get up and start talking to someone else. But as you're eating, a lot of those droplets that Elia was talking about are coming out of your mouth. They're landing on that person's food, and then they start to eat, and that's how we spread the virus.
E koe pehui mahuinga ni tuku mai Chantel, koe mana tui foku a o se tau ngahi whaianga rotu, pe te iai whanki kai taha Tau manaka mau pe foki mau mea toko ni he koe tau ko ngai ho tau whonga whakawhonua. Ka koe whonga ki ai, ka pau whaiha kai taha hiri ai lotu, ke nofo pe moho fo I whamiri. Ai a pe koe whare o ka kai koe mo whakataha I api. Pea mo kai pe mo ki nau tolu o te mo toe wheo pa ke I lawa pe ke tauhi ai fute ono. E ko hui ka pau te mo kai, pea toi whai mo tala noa, koe ki fo I afu ko ia ko paratu me ho tala noa, ko ia koe mea ui he kau pālangi ko koe droplet. Ta ui whakatonga koe afu, o ku aratu ia me tau tala noa. Hopefully that was
ki whehui.
Yo, malo whai whekau tuku mai.
Te tala no koe whekau aki pia moe koe takotaha ko test positive. Pia whaka mawahe ia pe koe quarantine for 14 days. After 14 days of foki mai, that person feel good and being with the family and being with the community. Koe ku whehui pe kua o sisai au pito vai la si ia pe mi takotaha ko ia ko ngofua ke alo ngā au e pia. Mea ni ko si mate au pito e vai la sia me he takotaha ko ia pe o ku ke I he takotaha pe ko ia ka ku ne o si ongo I saia.
So the question here is after the 14 days of isolation, is the virus no longer infectious? Or they can still infect somebody after the 14 days? So basically that's the question. Maybe Leah or others of our Department of Health professionals.
It's 10 days.
Question. So if you have a 14-day, what we call, if it's 14 days, we call it quarantine. That means that you were a close contact. That means a close contact is someone who was in close contact with a case, with a positive case. Okay, so you're given the 14 days because, as I was saying in my presentation, you can get a negative test, but that negative doesn't mean that there's no virus. It's actually better to say the virus was not detected in your body, because there is still a chance that there's a little bit of virus, but it was so small that the test didn't detect it. And so after you take the test and you're, a couple of days, the virus starts to grow and replicate and get more and more in your body. And then you're a case, and you can infect other people. Okay. So we give you 14 days because usually within 14 days, if you have the virus, you should start to show some symptoms. Right? And if your symptoms show up in those 14 days, then we know, you got it. You got the virus that time that you were exposed to the person. Okay? And then we have to change you to a case, and then you have 10 days from the time that the symptoms started. But if after the 14 days, you're good, you have no symptoms, then we're pretty sure that that time you were exposed to the case, you did not get the virus from them. So that's after your 14 days, we know that you did not get the virus. Does that mean that you will never get the virus in the future? No. You can still get the virus sometime in the future from somebody. So please don't think that if you get that negative or not detected result on your test, that means you're going to be negative forever. No, you can still get the virus sometime down the road. So you still need to be careful.
Can I please interject a little bit? I got the virus probably in the first part of October, and I had to go into quarantine for 10 days. So in Utah here, I just went down to the basement, and I was quarantined down in the basement for 10 days. So my family just dropped things down at the bottom of the steps. I took my Lysol, sprayed everywhere, had my gloves on, and my N95 right here. And if you need any of these, there's a company here in Salt Lake that sells them internationally. These N95s, they have right now they've got over 20 million they're sending out of here in Salt Lake. But nonetheless, so what happened is after the 10 day, about 9 days, my little one had to go in the quarantine because she got it. So just before I got it on the Sunday, we were together in church and everything. So I came home and I went and got tested on Monday morning, and I got it. So I had to go quarantine from Monday, 10 days after that. But remember, 2 to 3 days before that, the family could have got it. And that's exactly what happened. After 9 days, my daughter got it, Michelle. She got it. They had to go. So because they were with me, they automatically went into not isolation, but quarantine for 14 days. So not only were they in quarantine when I got it on that Monday, then they had to restart it all over again because now they're in isolation. We just need to be vigilant. We need to be smart. We need to make wholesale changes. This is the new norm. Whatever we do in our lives, we have to use the love that we have for our Kakai Tonga and for our Kakai Polynesians, and to educate them through this process. This is the new norm. Things are going to change. It's a lifestyle change from now on. We just need to keep ourselves and make ourselves sanitary. And we need to be able to do things that keep us clean from now on. There's a company here in Salt Lake we fogged. They came and fogged my house, and they fogged my AC and my heater system. And it kills 99% of the virus. There's a company called Trillathon, PPE out here, and it's owned by a CEO by the name of James New Wolfgram owns that company. And they've been doing it all over here. But, just so you know, we just need to be smart. We need to be vigilant. And we just need to educate our people with love. You know, we don't just tell them, oh no, you're not doing. No, we just give them some subtleties and let them know, I'm going to go ahead and sit in my car, but I just showed up just to show face. We're not going to change that, folks. We're not going to be able to change our culture. We are who we are, but there's way of making wholesale changes to kind of offset. And they know, people know now. We've been doing this now since March. So it's just, you know, I love you all. I'm glad that Neil was able to get me on here. We went through it as a family. Mentally and physically, it's going to make us better. We're going through the mental strains right now because our people are having to deal with these mental issues. And the only reason why they're dealing with these issues because no one has gone out like this and had a forum to tell them, this is how you can make it good. So, hey, I'm 100%. I still feel when I just felt like for 2 days, I was asymptomatic. So for 2 days, my body was sore. After the 2 days, I just had to go through the 9 and I was good. I couldn't taste or smell anything 3 weeks later, but that's just part of the process. Ofalahiatu, let's just spread the news. You can be better. You can. If you do the things that are right, like they've been talking about in this forum, I'm so proud of us coming together like this, educating and teaching people don't have fear. Fear is the worst, the unknown. Thank you very much. Ofatu.
Aloha Pito, Frankie, Ofatu.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to point out something in Frankie's story. So he said that he started his isolation, and 9 days after he started, his daughter started having symptoms, which means that she had caught it. Now, we know that up to 2 days before your symptoms start showing, you can be infectious. So maybe at his day 7, she was already infectious, even though she wasn't showing any symptoms. Day 7 and his day 8, she was still could still have been infectious, which is why it's important that close contacts quarantine, right? If she had not been quarantining on day 7 and day 8, when she could have been infectious, if she had been out in the community, with family members, going to church, she could have infected them, right? So that's why we ask you close contacts. I know you don't have test positive for COVID now, but you don't know if it could still be in your body, and then later on, it's going to get to a level where you can infect other people. So that's why it's important that close contacts quarantine us, when we know who they are, and they quarantine for those 14 days. So thank you for sharing that, Frankie. I think that really illustrates the point about the need to quarantine for close contacts.
I also want to say, Frankie also brought that he went to a funeral and stayed in his car. So it looks like that this is becoming a practice that we can do, and it's okay. What's important is that you show up to the funeral, but you can still maintain distance and so forth. So thank you, Frankie, and Sisaini also have done that. So others, we can do this. We can bring this this innovative cultural practices to our funerals or weddings or so forth.
Question. This question saying, can you get virus from food? We now have drive-in, drive-through funerals, drive-through graduation, birthdays. But when you pick up your plate at the end, how safe is your plate? I think food is, I'm anxious to hear the answer. And my audience here, that's all they talk about, eating, food. There's a loihosi that is around the area. They just delivered me one. And I want to ask who cooked this. I think, and how safe is the restaurant takeout? Since everybody's buying out McDonald's or even, but anyway, that's the question.
Great questions. I think the Loihosi is completely safe. Everything else we'll have to check it out. Anyone want to give an answer to this? Elia or CJ or?
There's no evidence that it is that COVID is communicable by food. In theory, as Eliad mentioned, it could be on surfaces containing food, but as far as we know, that's very, very rare. And if you're concerned, you can always wipe down your packaging. But no, food itself is not known to be a way that you can get COVID-19.
Hey, bring it back.
It's the talking and the laughing while you're eating in close contact. That's where you get it.
Yeah, they're talking about now they're going to adjust to drive through, say your goodbyes. In the end, you pick up your food. So if that's safe, yeah, that's the new way to do things. Thank you, CJ.
Oh, this is great.
Iyo,
Glissy Lola, yo.
That's my phone. But ko kuinga ko fanelino ka ko ngawe to lahi apita me contact with the community. Ko tau lau ko tatu ko kwai ngai me ko tu ya kia tau ngai me afakatonga. O ton pe ke tau ma we tau ton. Especially the mother at home who take care of the family. Ko hai ngai me te ke sanitize I ngai apite tau share me. Hange ko for example, I have 3 adult children and I stay with 2. And they're so busy in and out from work and me too. But ko sia ko kenanga ko e tau hiko ko e mask o ko ke hange ko na tala mai ke ayo to fa he Ziploc bag or you know how the adult children they throw anything anyhow and they just grab it and get it and reuse it again. For my own experience as a mother at home and the first protector of COVID-19, I think that is my task. Ko mea ko tope ngai fae ko tope fe tu ko hat mete tau fai ke tau fa now. Even though they do this every day, they're happy. Ko mea ko ton ke tau kwa ko tal I could share my own experience. O ko to o mai o hayane talo tau tupi tonga ko mea o ne hanga sanitize ai wala tau tui tau fo tau ospato ma hayane tau mai fita toki hene laku ke dry out hanga dry out. Kai ke tau ngata to dry out I have mask every day and it's very small and not only very small ka ko mea ko useful every day and some of the family go ngoi they cannot afford a mask cloth mask every time to exchange. I said, we have our own way. You wash it, you bring it and iron it, put it in a Ziploc bag or plastic bag, get ready for it. My children, I taught them, you come, this is the dirty one, this is the clean one. And every time the clean one is ready, when it's down, I make sure it's up again and be ready to use. And not only that, ko me ataha tau sio te ngai fa e ke wala tau fa na tu ya ke ngai ko ni ko tahane tau ngawe awe ke ngai po uri ki no time ke washe wala ko ko time atape ko to mahayane ika to wala ko e tu e me hoko for one reason ko pehepe tamate ya ngai siemo ko to pe o ko tau me traditional adult culture ko ha me ai then I api to help our children and not only that the community. I remember na I on a youth ko mo couple en o kuna nana pukeloa ke ha get reach out kana na no for pel o lockdown mi pe na loki kai tala mai he ta telephone me tam sita me si e mask o ne tui o ku uri ke la vai hif kila fo tola na wapi. So what I do, I deliver mask hayane every day to this family. A new one for them to use. But I keep to hang up pick up my 31. We have to have somebody here. If you saw, how ki bisin tu okay tu hamas tu ke lahi pake offer my fane ko mask free. Deliver tia ka hayane fa si block back at all we can help to the Tongan community. And deliver it to those who are affected, Ke nau ngau e aki. Heku tau rea pe tau tolu, but it's only Facebook. But how do we reach out to our community, especially the Tongan one, and those who unfortunately cannot afford to buy masks and cannot afford to buy hand sanitizer, gloves, and everything. Hange ko lau chantel o ko fia. Ta ko wai ka ta hang na supply me ko ya. Ka ko ke wanga I lo ko tok ilan hepon. Ta ko me asaya ke te taat kana tol ke o mai me ko avi ke ka me ko. I think that is our culture thing. Ko tau ma o pe ha me o ko lahi pa tau lava fai, and how we can help each other doing it. Do it. Mana tu pe help ke family ta. Tangi ma tala mai ke tau mau fia kai ka ke mau loto ke hau ko api. Ke mau api o maha mea kai. No, I can drop it off by your doorstep. You open it and pick it up. I'm going home. There is a way we can find things to help our community, especially as mothers. Ko ta no ko ke fai ka wa ko hange ko la ko ka di o ko na allocate recently for funeral. That's what I do. I just sit in my car. But fire the funeral he ma to ko Hawaii ini o mo unga ia. Te lava pe tangu te fonga mo unga ko o sio ke mea fai mo unga ko. You know, pa mama o pe moko e tangu tua o sio ke mea koko toki pro kiste pe ke to tako ko ai putu mo say bye and goodbye and go. Tau lava pe o figure out something that we still maintain our love for each other, but it's still safe for us to do it in our own way.
Thank you, Fane. That was good. She was just talking about the role of a mother's first protector. She irons the mask as one way of sanitizing them. And she's also attended a recent funeral and parked far away, top of the mountain, and can still see the funeral procession down. So this is the new Tongan culture right here.
Good.
Yeah, Chantel? Oh, yeah.
We'll let Suaki.
Yes,
Suaki, you have another?
Yeah, ko meni mai ni Dr. Kairi. O nau pehe, some things you can help, like a funeral. Ka koe ke kai ngā, koe birthday party, pia moe whanki ketu keta I ki, pe lawa ki taimi atu pe mua mea ia ko ia. Ka pau e koe lotu eni o ku taimi o Zoom pe. Koe ha mea ke aloe ni ihi o create o whakaafe holo e ne birthday party mo e whanki mea o kai ki uloto ke lavea hataha he te hanga ka koe koe ki he taimi tau whehanga ngai mo ui. This is life we're talking about. He ke lava tukoate ki birthday ko ia ki toki whai ate tau kaha u. He ka o koe ngai mea ia hange koe putu, you almost feel like ke te ki show up safely. Ka koe koe atu ke whanki toenga koe, whanki whakalanga eveni mo whanki ketu keta. Koutui koe whakaamu ke lawa whasisi, he ku haisia ni he ku whakaafe mai. Whakamore pena a ongo atu ki teksisi, o koe aku tōwhe whine ai. O nau ateni he pōni mo a pongi ai fu whai aho lahi au pito mo e fu mea lahi au. And they were debating pe e te nau alu ki ai pe I kai. Ko whare I nau talangi. Ko hame umahu inga. Ko e tala mai ku mate pe a kai ki utoi alu atu au ki hena. Pe ko mo alu mo tau o tauhi ki I know. Aia goes two ways. Ka tama ko whakaafe mai. Pea hange koe kau whai whikau whakau ia he ku whangato whawhin. Dr. Linda Uluawe moa ko ku... He ku alu whuke kau whai whikau ki he ngahi mea peni, kau pi sope, kau taki lotu. Koe uhinga whuke whai mai whakawhe, put them on the spot. Ka koe kore atu both ways. Tuku create eveni, pea... Tau whakamau tau toru to say, I'm not coming, kai ke. Koe anga pe ki whehui, pe aku toe pou tō lahi mai ki ai ki pāenga koe ni kou siofi e nau ngai kōmeni. Malo.
Thank you, Siwaki. So Siwaki is saying that, a funeral is understandable that this is something that we have to attend, but maybe birthday parties and other parties we can perhaps postpone them until the pandemic is over, especially inviting many of your family members to come and so forth. So he basically called out his sister in Texas who's having a birthday party today. So Tali.
Yes, I wanted to add to the idea of a role of a mother. I'm also thinking about, we do a lot of calls, and even though I'm the lead investigator, I also call people. And the one thing that I find very interesting is that as Pacific Islanders, we think we're protecting our family and friends by not telling the Department of Health, and that somehow that it's either they're ashamed or they're irritated or they think that, oh, I'm protecting them. The biggest thing that people say to me when their loved ones passed away is, I wish we had gotten help sooner. And the only way that we can help is if we know who's in the house and we're able to help you to isolate and quarantine safely. So honestly, as a Pacific Islander, I understand that need to protect your family, but you need to understand you're not protecting them by not telling us that information. And I say that from the bottom of my heart because, again, we deal firsthand with people who are positive, and unfortunately, we also deal with those who have passed on. And that is always the regret that we hear from all of our Pacific Island community members is, I wish I had done something different. I wish I had gotten help. And I didn't realize this was more than just the flu.
And one more adding to that, Sawaki, that was awesome. I spoke to my little brother Gus Wolfgram. I'm gonna bust him out, and he told me at one of the fight covers, one of their guys, his mom passed away, the dad passed away, and the sister's in a coma while the other sister passed away within a month and a half. That's where we need to be vigilant, my people. And this is a Talanoa session that we're having. And one of the ones that resonate the most when I was a little boy growing up is Mata Ofa. We need to utilize that Mata Ofa right now. If we care about our family members and all these people, and that's why we're in this forum today, because we care, PSA or whatever you want to call it, we need to use that key denomination, Mata Ofa. That needs to be the basis of what we're doing right now. That's enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Frankie, and thank you, everyone. We've had so much great, sharing tonight from the heart, and all for the protection of our people and making sure that they're safe and so forth. I think we're coming to the end of this webinar, and I know that you have many more questions, but this is not going to be the last webinar, so we will have several in the future, and I think this is the time for you to maybe share some of this information with your families. We are indeed grateful for all of you for being here and for coming and sharing your stories with us and for being open. And we really appreciate that. And I also want to thank Chantel and all her team from the Department of Health, for the awesome information that they shared with us. Thank you. And Malo Alpito and Ofalahiatu, please everyone stay safe. And hopefully next time we'll be able to have more people and we can continue the conversation about coronavirus and COVID-19. Ofat.
Dr. Kaili, can I say something, please? I am going to create a spot, probably start next month, on my Radio Tonga Hawaii, just to talk about COVID-19. And I may ask some of you to come on and talk, and people from, because on our show we got guests from all over the world, and probably I already have some guests that we had before talk about their experience where loved ones passed away, where they got it and came out of it. like Frank's story. I think some of our people, if they hear real stories and people that went through stuff, so rather than waiting for different times, I think we need this weekly so that people can come in and get the info. And I'm gonna hope to get the detail that Elia went through, because those are very very every single info. CJ and all of you work with Tele, to ask for some of your help. I'm glad I have Dr. Kaili next door here, and because this is too important to be neglected or wait for a long period of time. I think this is something that everybody in Hawaii need to know. And I work with Pulefano to have Tongan and Samoan session mixed language, where we can have all of this at least 2 hours or so every week, so people know where to turn to just talk about COVID-19 for however for a whole year or even more. But so I just want to say that out here while you there, so you guys, I already asked Tele earlier, so but I feel good about talking this. We may save some lives. So thank you for the opportunity. Malopito.
Malopito Siwaki.
And if I can, sorry, Devita, I'm gonna just real quick. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for coming and participating. This has been an amazing conversation. I love my Tongan family. Tevita is my Tongan family. So thank you guys so much for coming, for being a part of this discussion. We will make sure that we have more of these. We will give you more information as vaccines come, more updated information. As all of you guys know, COVID-19, it's still evolving, this whole process. We're still learning about the disease. We're still creating processes of treatment, and then also how best to protect ourselves from it. So we will definitely make sure to continue to have these discussions. And if you guys need any resources, please reach out to me. I know we had talked about masks, PPE, cleaning supplies. Again, I will send out that email. If you see something that is not on there, reach out to me as well, and I will do my best to get you in contact with whoever I can. Thank you guys so much. Ofatu.
Thank you, Telly. And we will now have a closing prayer by one of our reverend. Ko ia ku whamalo te kainga mo lawa mai ki e tau po tala noi he whiawhini, pe ko ia whai tau lo tutuku e he taha o tau kau whaiwhikau.
Will it be?
Yes, we'll give it to Malobito whaiwhikau moa.
Okay, tau lotu. Wawhamalo lai a te atua, whainga maari e ngai whaunga rirei ko mau whanongo ki ai he whiawhini. Maulot pe lau maari a whiona ke kau mai ki mau tolu, ke mau tokanga ki ai, ke mau talango fua foki, ke ngahi tokoni, ke mo ngahi information ko toa pe ko mau he whiawhini. We ask you, O God, to bless those people who spent their time, their idea, their knowledge with us, Chantel and Elia and their team. Bless them together. Let them be part of our community and of our life, so that we can work together for your people and your community. Bless us all, and those who have participated tonight, make us as the avenue for our neighbors and our friends in our ohana. We give you thanks, O God, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Malo Pito Whaiwhikau moa. Thank you. Thank you, Telly, Elia, CJ, all the translator, Nia, Saya. Thank you so much for making this a wonderful forum. Ofalahiato, and everyone, enjoy your holidays and your Christmas.
T, if you can stay on. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Frankie, for your story.
Ana latu, ana tauele ki te au. Si e mawhanonga he one one. E na amatopu vahe tahape. He oiwe ana latu.
Thank you, Annie, for coming.
Ki te au. Si e mawhanonga he one one. E na amatopu vahe tahape. He oiwe ana latu. Ana tauele ki te au. Si e mawhanonga he one one. E na amatopu vahe tahape. Si lolo vainga loto moko moko. Fai si oanga kona limali kata kata. Komado mu asi o mohelana. Mo e tau hanga si ono vainga taa. Si lolo vainga loto moko moko. Fai si oanga kumali mali kata kata. Oiwe ana latu. Ana tauele ki te au. Si e mawhanonga he one one. E na amatopu vahe tahape. He oiwe ana latu. Ana tauele ki te au. Si e mawhanonga he one one. E na amatopu vahe tahape.
You
want to know why running on the treadmill?
Whamalatu mo tolu ko ia na mo take time I ke mo whanongo mai ki he polo kalama ko ia e COVID-19 pe ke tala noa COVID-ki. Aia nei whakahoko atu ia he Department of Health ko e ni a Hawaii. O ko ia e whakaamu ke whakahoko atu ha polo kalama peheni he kaha uwawe mai. Ke tautanga noa ke ngai mea whekau aki mo e mo ui o ku aonga au pito kia ki tau tolu I he kahau. Ko e isu whoko e ni o ku tau wheao mai moia whakautui o te gai pe ke mahino lelei pe e a wau lelei ki he tuunga o tonu ke tau wau ki ai. Whakautui e whairewa ha wheinga ke omi pe a whahatala noa o toi loloto ange ko e ahoni na moulawei tau sio ki he ngahi konga kehe whakatoke tā mo e ngahi mea whakasaya nisi whikawaki mo e mahakini. Kai whaki tui e waweni ha tau mawai mo e fuu palparema koe ni ne ongo ko kamata ke maumai ha ngai whaito o mo ngai mea kehe ka te tau kei wheawa tu pe moia. Pe hele pe he e fufi e mau au pito ia ke tau sio ki ai e kaha uwawe mai. Ko ia ai whamalo atu ki ho mouheni pe te tau hoko atu ki tau tolu ki a ngahi mea lahi whekau aki ia pe a moha ngahi mea te tau wako me mahaki koe ni ke tau toi whapoto ange I he kahau. Ko ia e whamalo atu ki a te ki moutolu, ko inga peko e mouheni, ka e tau koutui, tā ia te ki fwoi whasiko ni, ke tau māwai aki e whiawhini, pia te tau toki hoko atu e kahau. Monofu mai fōki ki he polokalama ko ia hapai masani, a ia e whakahoko atu ia e tamasi ko Lemeki, o kahiri peko e ni, kai tā ia te tau ki whasiko ni. Malo pito o whatsuko o siwakiri vai me Hawaii.
Si ifisi o lo se mukaia America Ko hono mo o ni koe o wha Isa niu fiu he fifili Ha aula o wha e lehiki Ta ahine Hawaii Isa kuto hikana